Hey, Saturday night at the Atheist. I'm here with a bunch of, I'm a mature adult male here with a bunch of children.
Yeah. That's why the show started at like 10 o'clock on the dot.
Not really. By the way, you're welcome. You're welcome, Speed. If I didn't come in, you never would have been live. You would have spent 3 hours talking to Danny and not ever recorded.
Kids today. I don't know what the hell's
today.
wrong
We remind you to do things, and here you are just talking your shit. Here we go.
So, Andrew, they did a big trashing of you on Standing for Truth channel.
Oh no! I know. It wasn't just him. Like like he had
Brenda
standing. Too. Well, not just Brenda, right? Erica. Like he had like a 2-minute clip of Erica saying, "I'm not a geneticist." Ha! I'm not a geneticist. Like
oh my god,
cringy. What the fuck?
Yeah, but they're not geneticists either. What were they talking
I know.
about?
That's the ironic part. Well, it's still funny regardless.
It's totally lost on them. They're making fun of Erica for saying she's not a geneticist, and none of them were geneticists on that panel last night. And it's like, you fucking idiots! I don't know what is wrong with them people.
I feel like we've thrown this out too much, but it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect on crack.
It is. It's horrible. I think they should actually do a university study on them and figure out what is exactly wrong with the way they think. I don't know.
I mean, we shouldn't send Maddox to university because he'll try to sue them for whatever reason. Remember, Maddox has apparently quite the nasty tongue with trying to sue people.
Maddox? Oh.
Apparently he likes to sue people for like the most minor like aggressions.
Interesting. I wonder if he'll sue us for this.
He's wicked good at defending himself against traffic tickets, right? Especially that
apparently.
one. He
took somebody.
He had the broken tail light and license plate light, and he brought that to court or something.
I mean, look. Well, here's the thing. You might go. He's not. God damn it! Let me try again. I want Maddox's confidence, like because that man. Well, okay, you didn't let me finish.
His confidence.
I said, you said, I want that man's confidence, even though he's not confident. You know what? Now I don't know where the fuck I'm going with this. I'm just, I'm just saying he seems like he's got enough confidence or arrogance, I guess I should say, because confidence and arrogance are not the same thing. But what balls do you need, to lie to people and say, "Oh, I represented myself and won"?
Like, I actually respect Joel for his lying more than he does, more than Maddox does. Because at least with Joel's confidence, he'll just say whatever.
Joe's lying. I don't think Joe's lying. He believes what he does. Maybe Maddox. I don't know, but
I mean, Joel will just lie for the sake of lying. Just oh well, you're talking about something like inorganic. Oh yeah.
What the fuck is Indiegogo? No, I mean, what are you showing?
Hi, I'm John Maddox, and what I do is help people with mentioning ideas, taking ideas to
There's an echo.
Viable business models. That's my greatest strength.
There be an echo.
Hello. Oh, hang on a second. Let me start over. Where are we here? Oh, we're probably going to have a problem.
He looks like a dude there, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like...
He looks like a chode.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that really killed me about this is he sounded like a guy that I would like. I don't.
When was this made?
Really? This looks like about maybe 2010, 2012, something like that. Okay, let's listen.
Is help people with interesting ideas take things from the idea stage to a viable business model. That's my greatest strength. I enjoy it tremendously. I've been a serial entrepreneur, and then as the owner of an interactive agency, what I found that I loved the most was having really interesting concepts come to me and then helping them go from just the pure idea stage into reality by aggregating together a team of great designers, developers, marketing strategists, videographers to help actually turn that dream into reality. And with serious startups, that goes to another level of not just being a vendor, but actually being part of it and taking equity stakes in those concepts. That's what has me so passionate about this concept, and I hope you are as well. And I hope you enjoy meeting some of the other players involved with serious startups, and we look forward to getting to know you more on a personal basis and helping concepts go from that idea stage into viable business models we can all be proud of.
Hey.
And they actually have an office. And they have a fundraiser here that they did.
Boy, they were playing ambitious. Holy crap, 80,000. Jesus hell.
Yeah, look how far they got.
Well, they got very. They did something.
They did 1%.
They almost got $1,000.
Almost $1,000. Yeah, what the hell? No telling what you can do with $1,000.
I know. I mean, that's at least
You
like
could-
an ounce.
Wait, hold on. How much?
I know
how
what
much
you
were they
could
asking
do.
For?
No, hang on a second. I know 80,000 with $1,000. You could take a few days off and debate Matt Dillahunty.
That's a few milligrams of cocaine at least. Like that's something.
I don't know. But
Has anybody seen him smile like that? Like, I mean, that actually looked kind of like a genuine smile. But anytime you see him smile, it's more like a smirk now, right? I mean,
it's more like a shit-eating grin, actually. But yeah, I get your
right, exactly. There was definitely a difference there.
what blew me away is he's actually the kind of person that I could, talk to and work with in that video. And what happened to him 10 years hence,
If we're gonna do like what we know about Maddox, we should do that as its own stream because we have more to.
Oh, we have more.
Like we have the podcast thing.
I do have the podcast. Anyway, I thought I'd have a little. That's just a little treat. I thought that was pretty interesting to see him talking where
like a
you
normal
don't want to punch him. Yeah, where you don't want to punch him in the face.
It's kind of like in that scenario, he's actually tolerable to talk to and not just like completely up his own ass.
Right.
I wonder if that was back in his days that he was doing. Remember his story there? What did he say? How did he describe it? That it was his partying days. I can't remember how he described it. Maybe he said he'd
getting drunk. Yeah. Also
yeah.
Debauchery. I think he called it.
That was during that time. Maybe that's why he's smiling.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That
was actually the 10. That was 10 years prior. So that was from 2000 till 2010. And then the event happened in 2010. And then he supposedly, according to him, found God right after the aneurysm, right?
Yep.
Isn't that how he puts it forth?
It depends it depends like which story you get.
Right.
Because he's given it several times, and it changed several times.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's one account where it happens in a business, and then there's other accounts where he's home ridden and finds Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard that account. Yeah.
So Andrew, what you want to tell us about your chat with SFT yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, I was just asking because you guys were mentioning something about me, and I didn't know what it was, so I was a bit confused. That's kind of all I was talking about.
Well, did you have a chat with SFT?
Yeah, but I don't want it to take over the stream if you guys don't want it to.
It's all right. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep berating Maddox like a.
Yeah, we do want it to take over the stream. I was
watching the premiere before. I don't think you were talking that much because Brenda came in, and then I actually talked to Standing in the side chat for a bit, nothing too much. But yeah, it's like every time you go over there, you're always so polite to them.
It's really weird because the conversations I've had with Standing for Truth, and remarkably, like, it's not very much because I don't like dealing with him. The conversations I've had with him in person are actually like a lot more polite than he is in side chat.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just like night and day difference.
Like I have an example of that, for instance, like he was really polite in our discussion in the actual room, but like when I was asking him this question in side chat, he called it a dumb question, basically. So it seems to be getting a bit more aggressive with me nowadays, at least in side chat.
That's the thing, though. It's like, it's always curious when people will do that, because it's like, okay, well, what do you like? What exactly is a dumb question to you? Because like, I can tell you that Standing is given dumb explanations for things, and I can explain why they're dumb. But usually, things that Standing calls like to be dumb questions typically are just questions that either poke holes in his model, or things like that he's tried to answer before but have been unsuccessful at.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm going to go over to GitHub and take a look at what I can find on Mendel's accountant.
Okay, software. Okay.
He keeps talking about Mendel's accountant.
Oh yeah.
And why is that supposed to be a good piece of software? Does anybody know?
Why?
Does anybody know how it works?
Nope.
Because it could be some creationist shit code that always seems to come out in favor of creationism.
They're kind of pissing me off. They want me to sign up. They charge me every month. Why should I sign up? What?
That's weird. If you're paying money to them, you should have your own.
To use the code?
No, I pay them every month. What the fuck are they trying to do to me?
You pay GitHub every month?
Yeah, for years.
Well, that's
Sign
for
up.
like your code. That's for like checking in and managing your code, right?
Right. Where do I sign in?
Oh, you want to know how to use it?
No, normally when I go to GitHub, I just go to GitHub. Now it's giving me all this sign-in bullshit. What the fuck?
Oh, that's weird. Did you like clean out a bunch of cookies or whatever?
We just sent you an authentication code to verify my device.
Oh,
what
yeah.
are they
They
doing?
probably changed their policy, defaulted everyone to two-factor
authentication. Yeah. Jesus, that whole shit.
Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Pop-Ups.
And then they'll also like put one of those things in there where you have to identify, in which of these pictures do you see a bicep?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, I hate those.
I hate those.
Because
those are the most annoying things on earth.
Yeah, and they're never good enough to actually get it right.
And there's times where it's like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that might be a bicycle, but
you can't really.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're so tiny you can't tell what they are, and you can't enlarge them. So it's like, give me a better picture, assholes. Okay, dark mode is here. I don't want dark mode. I just wanted to look something up. Jesus Christ, this guy. And they revamped shit. I haven't been here for a while.
Apparently. Really?
I just like that concession. Jesus fuck, they changed so much. I haven't been here for a while.
Cursing at his browser.
Well, it's been a year since I've actually
used it.
Yeah. Okay, here's Mendel's accountant, so I got that.
All right, here's Jason to make everything seem grown up.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason. So do you know anything about Mendel's accountant?
I don't think he's that kind of scientist.
You aren't that kind of person?
You're not that kind of scientist.
We have a problem billing your account. What? Okay. That would explain a few things. Anyway, there's a Mendel Go release, and that's the one I think the guy was working on that died of cancer. And that was through last commit was 2 years ago.
What are you trying to do? You trying to clone a repo?
I'm trying to investigate some source code for Mendel's accountant, which Standing for Truth keeps talking about all the time. He's talking about all these simulations that they've done. He calls it the world's most. He calls it the world's most advanced population genetics software, and it hasn't been updated for 3 years. Were the most major updates.
Wow.
Is it under genetic algorithms? Like it's a It's maybe I'm on the wrong place.
You can do. I'll give you a link here to the Go account for it. Let's see. The Go version of the software. Go is a programming language.
Yeah. But I thought you were saying you were trying to find it on GitHub.
I found it. That's I just put the link out to it. But I'm trying to find. There's an older version of it that was written in C++. Now this is here the C version of Mendel's accountant engine. There's a few versions. Is that one's written in Fortran, for Christ's sake?
My God. Do you have to use punch cards?
Yeah, that's the last time I used Fortran. I actually literally used punch cards. And that was like 1974 or something.
I had a Fortran class in the early 80s, and we were typing code in at like dummy terminals, waiting an hour and getting your results, on green paper.
Yeah,
we computer lab at the college.
We were running that program called, I think it was Eliza or something. It was an AI program, and it would print out on a teletype, and that was back in 1974. But you'd swear at it, and it would say, "I'm sorry that you feel that way," and just all kinds of weird shit in that.
Okay.
And passive aggressive programs.
It would psychoanalyze you.
Yeah.
It's like,
wait, hold on.
You say something like shitstorm, and it would say, "Tell me more about shitstorm."
Well, wait. What are you talking about? I was looking at Mendel's accountant. It sounds very, very interesting. Although I don't reckon what is Golang? I never heard of Golang. I never heard of the programming language Golang.
It is a newer programming language, and it's Golang. It's called Go. Well, maybe it's Golang, but it's similar. It's a functional programming language similar to Erlang, I believe.
Interesting. Now, where I wonder where I would find the C++ version of Mendel's accountant, or Python, because it sounds. I read the description, and it sounds fucking amazing. If
I could get you to end your sentence, I could tell you that I put that in chat. It's a C version.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a C version. The second link is the C version for Mendel.
Well, thank you, honey.
Okay, that was the first version that was created, and then later on they wrote a better version in Go, which I assume is faster. And I would like to compare the similarity between the two.
But does it function?
How would you run this? Interesting.
I've got it running. I managed to figure it. You download it. Well, they have a page where you download it. You start a server, and then the server starts up a tab in your browser. So
interesting.
Download Go. I don't want to download Go. Go is just a functional. Well, what the hell? I guess it's a good functional programming language, right? I've never worked with Go, to tell you the truth.
Really? That sounds interesting.
But I guess I could.
Weren't you learning programming, Immutable?
Stop asking that question, okay?
Not really, because you told me you were learning programming, and I was just asking if you still were. Relax.
I'm learning it the way you're learning chemistry.
Okay, the easiest programming language for you guys to learn is Haskell.
Dick.
It's really good for beginners.
What is Haskell?
It's probably the most difficult functional programming language ever created.
I mean, have you Have you ever tried learning Lisp? That's what I've been diving to lately.
Lisp is similar. Lisp and Haskell have a lot in common, but Lisp is a little more parenthetically bound.
It's so fucking bizarre, right? You know, because in Lisp you have to put everything in like parentheses, and to do a calculation, you need to put like the arithmetic before the numbers. So if you want to add up like 3 numbers, you do parentheses plus, and then numbers you want to compute. Like,
yeah, it stands for lots of insignificant parentheses. Lisp.
You know what? That's that
might be right.
I think it is. I think that's correct. Mendel Go. I want to look at some of this Go code. Anyway, okay, so Andrew, what do you think of the whole genetic entropy thing? I know they hammered you at Kondrashov and all the old quotes and stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of, I think there was an earlier stream today, and I was kind of discussing some stuff with it in the live chat with CRISPR, and a lot of it was pretty interesting. But yeah, as I am strongly of the opinion, and I think any sane geneticist is too, as far as I can tell, that genetic entropy is just not a thing.
Yeah,
I could have told you that without genetics, but okay.
Well, that's kind of what Brenda was saying.
I mean, what was that?
Why am I annoying? See, Brenda was kind of saying that all you really need to know is it's bullshit, right?
That's all you need to know.
Like, Brenda, if you want to come on, I don't know if Speed put the link out yet. You gonna invite Brenda?
No.
I put the link out. It's up. It's right up there. It's really easy to find. Maybe Scott can help me out and do another. So Kondrashov in his book, The Crumbling Genome, says, unfortunately, we still do not know to what extent deleterious mutations will affect wellness of future generations. And
well, I mean, that really depends on how deleterious the mutation is, because if it kills the organism, probably not too long.
Well, he's talking about relaxed selection and as a problem for the human race, potentially. But they say that we don't really know. The majority of even de novo deleterious mutations are mild, at least when heterozygous. And what else does he say?
This kind of gets into what I was trying to say last night, which was basically, as far as I can tell, and I think Dr. Dan has talked about this too, error catastrophe and just mutational meltdown in general hasn't been observed in nature, at least not to the extent that they're claiming it has been. Like the best example, maybe they have others, I don't know. Yeah, the best example they provided was humans, and that kind of seems unsatisfactory to me because we're not a natural population.
Not at all.
I'm like, they can't even do it with viruses in the lab, for instance, right?
Yep. And let's see what else does Kondrashov say, because they love to quote him.
Oh, yeah.
One can expect most autosomal recessive Mendelian diseases to be caused by relatively old alleles, unless inbreeding is common in the population. That's one thing he says. What else did he say? Oh, let's see. Complex traits are also strongly affected by variation within non-coding DNA. So there's your regulatory genes. And let's see. They're talking about some mutational MA experiments on Drosophila. Let's see. In contrast, in contrast, data on IQ of Swedes born between 1950 and 1976, as well as on 170,000 Danish conscripts, did not reveal any adverse effects of advanced paternal age. So,
Jesus, that's a smack at the Swedes. at the Swedes, Jesus.
Average scores of tests measuring intelligence have been rising in the course of the last several decades in many countries. This trend is known as the Flynn effect. So, wait a minute. I thought they were down. Didn't the creationists tell us they were going down?
Maybe they're talking about their own internal population.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. 18 can evolve. What else did he say? I'm looking at the conclusions of his book. The conclusion of his book is we don't know. This is interesting. We don't know.
Right. And there's no experimental just support for it.
No. It's all we don't know.
If there was, what the scientific community would be all over this, and of course they're going to say it's biased and all the standard talking points. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there is such a thing as bias in data, but it's usually fairly easy to tell.
Right.
Like when experimental bias is present in a sample, and there's ways like that you can account for it, but that's not what they're referring to. And like even with the James Tour, like in dealing with the ABio stuff, it's like even if you want to claim that those papers are biased or something, or that they're probably reaching wrong conclusions, to do that you should like actually read the paper and give reasons why that paper is likely to be incorrect about the conclusions it's making or something like that.
So
to do an internal critique, you have to accept. Like to do an internal critique, right? You have to kind of accept the data for what it is, and then show why that data is incompetent, or why conclusions that are being done on that data are misappropriated.
Right.
Yeah. Another one of their goodies is the number of new genetic mutations that we're logging every year at the National Institute of Health, and that is because we're getting better at finding them.
Well, probably just better at locating them and figuring out and just identifying them generally.
They like to imply that they're brand new mutations that just popped up in this generation, right? But no,
probably not.
That is not what's happening, you idiots. It's just I'm sorry.
So before we move on to another topic on Tor, Maddox, or whatnot, I did want to ask you guys something, because I may have talked to you, Speed, about this in a different chat, but I asked SFT the question again on bristles, and I guess he gave me the same response, but I guess I kind of responded to it differently. So like his response was basically, I feel like they admitted that it could have been a net neutral change in information content, and yet still have a fitness effect. And then of course he went on to the standard talking point on genetic entropy, like we were just talking about, with how even if you have these beneficial mutations, they're too rare and they're too minor to do anything. And I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Like, if at this point I really have got them to admit that some mutations are not inherently loss of information, according to their standards, what do you think that means for their position? Like,
well, it means that to me it means that they have to maintain a straw man, because if you allow that some mutations are beneficial, right, it means that the fall can be interpreted metaphorically rather than literally, right? Because their whole thing about saying like that mutations are a loss of information is that that's a reflection of like the fallen state of humanity, like when people chose to disobey God. But the thing is, like, the whole like post hoc of them saying, oh, well, even if there are beneficial mutations, it's just not sufficient. Well, the question would be, in that case, why don't we see the beneficial mutations that do exist? Like, why do we see them propagate in populations instead of going extinct?
Oh my God.
Why do we see them preserved?
Okay. I'm sorry.
What's up?
Oh,
No, explain.
this?
Yes.
Now that
Okay.
looks awesome. Interesting.
Yeah, but it isn't actually. So, and this is just a brief inspection, but this is their population structure. So they have tribe num and they have parts and whatever. But you go down here and for stats, and you will see what the fuck mean fitness, min fitness, and max fitness, and where are the number of offspring?
Load 64.
Total number of mutations. Okay, so they're tracking. They're not doing it gene wise. I don't know what the hell they're doing here, but I mean, this is not a sophisticated population program. I mean, if they're keeping track of the total mutations, let's see, population factory, it's not a problem. Population reinitialize.
Target size.
Where the hell are we? Generate all. Oh, okay. So they are generating alleles. Okay, but how the fuck are they doing that? Oh my goodness.
Var num with alleles
Number?
U 32 equals 0.
So we can calculate the ratio so far of individuals we've given alleles to versus number of individuals. I don't know what's over there on the right. He did not format this very well, but that's the way I would have formatted it, though. People hate me. Comment on one line longer than 80 characters. People get real programmers get pissed when you do that. Allele fraction, parse initial alleles. I don't know. It would take a lot of looking at, generate to figure out what he's doing, and I don't think it's been updated at all since Van died. So,
well, you should do like a deep dive on that code and see what the hell it's actually doing.
That takes a lot of fucking work. I mean, that's like a $50,000 project to actually tear down a piece of code, or at least 20,000. Apply partial population growth type. I don't know. Anyway, worth looking at. But so they do. So for the population, they're keeping track of the total number of mutations. Well, I suppose they have to have. That's fair. I have to look at it. We'll see. Anyway, okay.
How many lines? How many lines is it?
This one is
6 bajillion.
1,400 lines for this one file.
Jesus.
Oh boy.
That's population. So that's a modest sized program. I'm not sure how many packages they have here.
It's not a lot of lines, really. It depends on what you're trying to do is.
Yeah, models.go. Okay, multi-bottleneck basically working. What the fuck? That's a comment.
Basically working.
Yeah, that was a comment.
It really functions. I mean, it almost functions.
That was a check-in comment. Fixed mutation rate. I don't know. Anyway, you see, the problem is that you don't know what the fuck they're doing, and you don't know if they made mistakes, and you don't know what their model is exactly.
I can't imagine anybody who's doing more sophisticated research would use that. They would more than likely just use the common genetic algorithm structure and build their own model using that. As opposed to using something canned like this. Most scientists would prefer to, because it depends on like whether they're doing like combinatorial optimization, or whether they're doing like simulated annealing, or like there's all kinds of structures that can be associated with genetic algorithm modeling. But I don't know. When I Googled that, I couldn't really find anybody other than like creationists that are using this.
Yeah, I know.
software.
That's the other thing that kind of scares me about them. So
yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah. Well, Standing for Truth said it's the most sophisticated program for population modeling that has ever been written.
That's what creationists say. I found that quote. That's like John in a paper by John Sanford and like and some other creationist websites that are like, this is the most sophisticated population genetics model ever developed. But I don't see other
This would
people
be a
using
great
it.
time for Dr. Dan to pop up and give his opinion.
But that's the thing, though, right? Like, they won't say that. They'll say that about everything, right? Even in, like, when you discover something fairly completely, like, modest and stuff like, oh, well, this discovery in cell biology is, like, the greatest thing ever. Nobody knew about this. Like, this is the greatest thing since, like, butter and bread. It's like, wow, really? Okay. Like, and you thought we sensationalized media.
Yeah.
You know, like, frankly, like, I actually submitted an NSF grant with a bunch of people where we were looking at using genetic algorithm techniques to evaluate Arctic ocean flow and impacts to, like, you know, food security, et cetera, based and attempting to find, like, the minima of differing surfaces using genetic algorithm techniques. And it got declined because the reviewers were like, this genetic algorithm modeling is old school. It's like what you would do like 25 years ago. They were like, where is your, like, convolutional neural network approach? Where, like, they wanted to see more novel approaches as opposed to a genetic algorithm technique. So
modeling a population of genetics, you start doing it and you realize very quickly that to come up with anything even remotely real, you're going to be working on it for the next 25 years because it is complicated.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a realistic model, there's no way that you can use it to disprove or prove anything. That's all you can do is prove or disprove the model that you're using.
I mean, frankly, like, what most people do is they do ensembling. So they run multiple types of algorithms to evaluate the predictive capabilities of their model. And, you know, like, you might use a genetic algorithm, but you might use 10 or 15 other techniques and evaluate how well they predict or how well they, you know, look at the causal relationships of the inputs. So, and you know,
Mendel's accountant has not made a big bang in the industry, but according to Standing for Truth, it should have. I mean, any day now, the scientific world is going to notice this program, which is dead, apparently dead in the water, because the man that wrote it is probably the only man that knows how to modify it without somebody taking it apart piece by piece. And if you're going to take a program like this apart piece by piece, most often what happens is that you look at it for about 3 hours and you decide to write your own, because it's absolutely useless to take the risk of finding out what somebody else did. You may as well just go do it yourself. It's just as easy. So anyway, I don't know where he starts. I wonder where the main is. Well, I'd probably be better off looking at the C version of it, because that might make a little more sense. Anyway, we'll take a look at it at some point. I mean, God damn it. These people, they keep bringing up things that take a lot of work to figure out, you know? And we don't have enough staff around here at Answers in Atheism to do all this
work.
Don't
have enough staff. Oh
work?
God.
Who said anything about work?
Who said anything about work? I thought we just get to call Maddox a giant poopy head and explain to people how his I thought we just got to explain to people, like, how Maddox's interesting encounters with industries and being a millionaire and stopped being a millionaire has led him to the YouTube venue of
selling t-shirts.
Financial t-shirts that'll just make you cringe, like, very, very hard.
Yep. Cringe.
Who's BM Potter?
He's the guy that died of cancer. He's the one that wrote. He's the one that wrote. At least that's what I heard. Either the C. I'm not sure if he was the one or the other one did. I think the Go version is the new one. And I know Sal Cordova said that they were really upset to have lost him.
Yeah.
Because they kind of put the project on hold. That was the end of it.
Well, I don't know, man. It looks like
he's still committing.
He's still committing. I mean, he committed in, like, May. He must be still alive.
Well, this guy's around then. So, but he didn't commit to this project, did he?
Correct. Yeah, that's right. He's committing to other repos. So
okay,
but-
Annex, SDO support, mostly worked on DevOps. So let's see. I don't know what Annex.
I can't find any info about him. It doesn't say like who he works for. It just, he doesn't have any info about that.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah. Anyways.
Well, he's a Christian, so him being dead does not prevent him from committing code.
He was resurrected.
Yeah, if it's good for Christians, you can commit it from heaven.
Nice.
Yep. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I love the satisfaction you get when you finally commit your code up into GitHub. I've always done it by the command line, and it comes back, everything's all good, and you go, my changes, they're committed. Just makes me feel good.
He's working on something on Darknet with AMD 64 NVIDIA, so graphics processors. That's interesting.
You talking about the same programmer?
Yeah. Cogworks, NVIDIA, AMD 64, Darknet. I don't know what that is. Wait a minute. I know what I'll do.
If it's anything close to the dark web, that might be very lucrative, and that might be a very lucrative avenue to go down.
Need to look at the README file. Darknet set up on Ubuntu, run with USB webcam or without. I don't know if I want to get into this. Darknet and webcam don't work well together. They don't play well together. Do they?
Probably not.
Okay, to test in on one picture. So I think is this a picture matching thing for, wow, I don't know what this is, for the dark web or something? I don't know what the hell. I have no idea. Okay, well, we'll figure it out someday, hopefully. Raccoon invasion.
Uh-oh.
They're after you.
Yeah, let's see what he has to say. What are you doing, dude?
Have you given all those raccoons their rabies shots in case you bite them?
No, they're not. They're not vaccinated.
Dang.
Yeah.
Damn.
They don't know what kind of danger they're in.
I know they're in danger. Yeah. Yep. I like when my cat goes out there and gives them the what for every now and then. He's sitting on the other side of the fence going, "Wow, get out of here." And he just goes right up, and they look at him like, "What are you doing, dude?" It's like, kind of reminds me of a creationist going up against a real geneticist.
Or a real scientist of any kind. I mean,
yeah, real scientist, real geologist.
Hey, did you guys already talk about LPP doing that? I don't know if you call it a hit piece, but whatever, about Professor Dave.
We did a little bit.
What happened? Okay. Let's go over it again.
Yeah, what kind of information you have with you?
Yeah,
Jason?
Before you do, Jason, did you see that we did a little hit piece on him at the beginning where we showed his?
Yeah, I did. I thought I saw you posting, like you were showing some stuff about him. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think, like, I know you were asking, like, is it ethical to like, I kind of say, if like somebody's posting information under their own name and you found information that's publicly available about them, that, I consider that fine. I mean, John's.
Oh yeah, this is all public domain.
Yeah, it's like, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, he's doing the same, essentially. Dave has got, he's not hiding himself. Professor Dave, he's doing it under his own name. He's had interviews about who he is and his background, that he's not a professor. So I think it's fine for LPP to talk about those things. I just, anyways, it was kind of interesting.
That's where it came up. He did it to Professor Dave, and I posted in his chat. I said, "How would you like us to do a background story on you?" And he deleted it.
Oh, he did. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
he didn't delete it. No, it's still here. I'm sorry. He did not delete it. So I got 4 replies. Unlike Professor Maddox, how about it if someone does your backstory, John? And he said, lol, your stupidity never ceases. I don't call myself professor. Get your ears checked. Other than minor jokes, I pretty much ignore your nearly daily attacks. If you do attack me, I'm not nice like Dr. Tour. Make sure to consult your attorney before release.
Make sure to consult. Wait a sec. Make sure to consult your attorney before I go after publicly available information that you have given out publicly to people, and that I'm going to sue over what exactly that people have done damage to me and tried to harass me over information that's like public domain. Like what? Sorry,
you're not slandering or libeling anybody. It's public information, and it's his
exactly.
If it's his LinkedIn page, I mean, it's actually truthful information, unless somebody else put that up there and he didn't.
It's his own information, and there are podcasts like he's been on where he's gone over, like and expanded further, like on his endeavors as an entrepreneur.
Okay, KL. So you admit Professor Dave is a fraud, and yet you defend him. What does it say about your relationship with truth? Let's see if the origin. Here's SpongeBob imagination. I don't know. I think that's SFT's ghost or something.
Could be.
Oh my God, he wrote a lot. And then Smokey Saint got in here. Speed of Pudding. Never forget. Is your best defense for this fraud is to avoid defending this fraud? I don't know what he's saying.
What?
I don't know. He's not making any sense.
None of what these people say is really.
He's obviously smoking.
I mean, if they're getting all butthurt and pissy because he calls himself Professor Dave as kind of a trade name, then they're just out of touch with reality and marketing and the way things are. He's got a master's of a MA in science education, so he's more qualified than them to talk about science. So,
okay, SpongeBob says, why has abiogenesis never been demonstrated in the lab? But I asked Professor Dave this very question. He assured me it would take 1 million years to observe abiogenesis. What a grift. It's no wonder Dr. Tour advises his students, he doesn't have any students, to steer clear of that field. By the way, are you capable of responding materially bleh. No, I'm not, apparently, to a hypothetical question or a thought experiment? If so, have a go at the following. Well, this is good. Scenario. Let's suppose so-called macroevolution was scientifically proven to be false. How would you do that?
You can't do that. You can't prove a negative by definition. You can't prove a negative logically.
In other words, suppose it was a fact that the human species has remained the same in terms of body plan, number, placement, function of internal organs, reproduction, etc. There can be natural variation, blah, blah. But the body plan, okay, so we don't grow wings or anything like that. Yeah. In light of that scenario, how would you best explain the existence of humanity? That's a tough question.
Well, if you're going to wipe away reality by saying evolution is scientific, then you can, I guess, fantasize humans into existence.
Okay, so macroevolution is proven false. How would you do that, I wonder?
You can't. You can't prove a negative.
When I ask evolution thumping atheists this question, they typically can't bring themselves to respond in a mature way. Very often it seems the atheists cannot bring themselves to consider any other possibility.
Well, because no other possibility has been demonstrated. Right? Like, I can imagine a dragon breathed fire, like, up something's ass and decided to give birth to the universe that way, but there's no possibility for that that's been demonstrated. So I'm not really going to entertain it.
If evolution turned out to be an incorrect theory, what would we replace it with? What would we think happened to us? We were always here. Time travel Vindaloop. I like that one, the time travel Vindaloop. That intelligent.
I always like the aliens idea.
Well, an intelligent race in the future creates itself in the past, and it just keeps going around in a circle forever.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Vindaloop.
I would say one thing about the Professor Dave thing is that, like, I didn't really know much about Professor Dave. I had watched him when, like, he debated Jesse Lee Peterson and a few other people. And I'll be honest, my assumption was that he was a PhD professor. And so when I discovered that he wasn't, it did leave a little bad taste in my mouth, because I understand that he may be doing it from a kind of like a YouTube perspective, and that he put himself out there and say, look, I'm not really a professor. But I will say that people are kind of touchy about that stuff. Even like there are folks who are like, look, I have a master's and I teach at a community college, and I consider myself a professor. And there are some people that are like, look, I don't consider you a professor unless you are a faculty member, you have a faculty appointment at a university, and that you have a PhD. So some people are kind of like back and forth on that. So anyways, it's kind of a tough issue. I mean,
yeah, but my channel was named.
The thing is,
okay, my channel was named Speed or Sound of Gravity, and I can't go much faster than 12 miles an hour. And
yeah,
I don't know shit about gravity. And now it's called Answers in Atheism, and I'm not sure if I have any. So I mean, Professor Dave but have you watched his organic chemistry videos? He really teaches organic chemistry and other subjects in great depth.
And the thing is too, like, he hasn't, like, there's questions, like, there's this playlist on his channel, like, Ask Professor Dave, and he explains, like, his educational background, and he even, like, goes out to say that, like, no, he doesn't teach at a professional, like, university, but what he does do, like, is he engages, like, in science communication with a master's in masters of science and teaching that he obtains.
Yeah, and he almost got a master's in biochem, didn't he, or chemistry? One of the other.
Organic chemistry.
Synthetic organic chemistry. So he knows his shit. And I mean, it doesn't matter if he's not a professor.
I'm not saying that he doesn't know his shit, and I'm not saying that he can't do what he's doing. All I'm saying is that there is a perspective amongst folks that are faculty members, etc., that have a more specific line of calling yourself professor. And I'm not saying that he's not correct in his evaluation of Dr. Tor, but I will say that when I saw that, I was like, oh man, that it doesn't bode well for him in that respect. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, the thing is that, like, we shouldn't be basing somebody on whether or not they call themselves a professor, right? Even a person who's a complete layman, like, I'm not a layman. I have a bachelor's level education in chemistry. But my thing is, like, Maddox asked an interesting question as to, like, what does it mean, like, what level of education do you have to have for somebody to make, like, essentially a valid critique or, like, a valid argument? And my thing is, you don't need to have any education at all, really. Like, what you have to do to make a valid critique or a valid argument here in this case is to present data accurately and actually make a sound argument using whatever data source you've established.
And
that's what he did.
Come on, guys. He has a channel, right? He's making a living on this channel. You've got to have a clever name for your channel.
Right.
What the hell would I mean, this is just the name of his persona.
Can I make a little point here? Like, when he started that channel, his intent was probably just an educational thing. He thought up a catchy name, right? And now all of a sudden he ends up in these battles with the creationists, right? So it started off as one thing and turned it into something else. So if it started off as just an educational, that's a catchy name, and right?
Look, man.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, how about Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken? Okay.
You real Colonel?
Yeah, are they going to change that just because he's not a colonel? I don't know if he is or not, but I don't think he was a colonel, was he? I mean,
I have no idea.
That's what it means. It's just Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken, for fuck's sake. Don't mess with the guy on his choice of a marketing brand name. You know,
I'm trying. Look, first of all, I think we're conflating multiple issues. One is, can somebody have a position on a topic or a hypothesis in a scientific area or even a non-scientific area and not have a terminal degree? Sure, they absolutely can. The argument that I was saying, Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. And I was telling LPP this. However, what I will say is that when you particularly get into complicated subject matter and you're taking positions that are in opposition to a consensus position, and you don't have any formal education in that area, it's not impossible that you could have a visionary view that changes the paradigm. That could happen. I was saying it's probably unlikely that that's the case, and that the people that are doing that do have formal education in that area. There is a value to formal education. So that's separate from the issue of, and frankly, I feel kind of like I feel strong about this particular position, that in this academic area of your credentials, because your credentials represent your ability, like your educational background and your ability to communicate on a particular topic. If you're saying I'm a professor, and you're not a professor, I understand the YouTube thing, whatever, but I'm just telling you from an academic perspective, there are people who are adjuncts. They don't even, they're not tenured. They don't have an appointment, and they have a PhD, and they are leery of calling themselves professor. They call themselves instructors. So I'm just saying that I understand the YouTube piece, but I think that there's, anyways, whatever. Yeah, it's just my opinion. So.
Yeah.
And we know. I still think the creationist people.
I know.
They're just focused on.
I don't want to say the S word, academic S word, but
academic in our you academics in your ivory tower. I
don't want to say that.
You academic snobs. I get it. I understand.
So you're just afraid us autodidacts are going to take your job. Your gerb.
Oh, yeah, autodidacts like John.
Hey man, we do want to keep our academic institutions going. So
yeah, you do.
Yeah, we do.
My thing is because me and a few friends, like when I was still in undergrad, had this conversation about well, how do you know if someone is really well educated on a topic or not? And one of my answers to that was, well, usually you can tell by how they speak about a topic. And I gave the example of in my own field of chemistry, there's ways in which you'll hear people in high school talk about chemistry, but as you go through more rigorous chemical education, learning about orbitals and eventually even quantum mechanics, you'll see people that really understand it change the way they refer to certain concepts in chemistry about what an orbital actually means, shit. Or the way they talk about it usually is
different. Anyone else hear Batman and Atheist Jr. this morning?
No.
Holy shit. Batman he lasted 20 minutes. He kept trying to quit Batman. Oh, you got to listen to it. It's on Atheist Jr.'s channel. It is just precious. And then Otangelo gets on next. But Batman lasted 20 minutes, and all he did was continually talk over Atheist Jr., and he was going on about quantum mechanics. And Leo has got to look at that, because Batman makes Darth Dawkins look like a puppy. Yeah. I mean,
the thing is, so Mr. Batman takes a really odd approach in that he wants to use science to convince people to convince people of God, but he also claims presuppositionalism as, God is the inherent root for all knowledge and things like that. But those two are contradictory to each other, because you can't say something people can have knowledge, but God is the root for all knowledge, because those people would have to admit to God first. They're just two frameworks historically that don't mix together very well.
Batman is he claims to be a teacher, but man, he was full of shit this morning. He was going on about
he's a substitute teacher.
What did he say? That quantum fluctuations were oh my god, he had something to say about quantum fluctuations, that nothing was being it was the observer effect that caused quantum fluctuations, stuff appearing and disappearing, or existing and not existing, or whatever. And he called it the observer effect. or your perception or something. Anyway, Leo's got
he's taking this view of like quantum mysticism of like we don't really know how quantum mechanics exists, so it's magic type of thing.
Hey Jason, do you see Andrew's question down there on the screen?
Yeah, I do. How does one develop expertise if credentials don't matter in principle, and what does it mean to train in that subject? So, I mean, I'm not sure if I exactly understand, like how does one develop expertise if credentials don't matter? I mean, I think credentials do matter. If credentials didn't matter, then I think the process of learning where we're like, I don't have anybody to assist me. I'm just purely reading from a book of which I'm evaluating the accuracy of that is difficult. I mean, I know that in history, that's what people would do. That's very challenging to train in that particular subject if you have nobody to guide you except for what you're reading. And I have a few other folks that I've interfaced with online who have talked about the fact of the value of having somebody actually assist you in formal training helps for this kind of bias that you may have in thinking that what you're learning is actually true. Sometimes you need a level set to be like, the way I interpreted this, I'm absolutely 100% sure that's correct. But it may not be correct. And you want that critical evaluation. And in that respect, training with others who have expertise in those areas is helpful to give you guidance, not only on whether you're accurately evaluating the information, but the method of being able to be critical about your own interpretations and to realize that may not necessarily be the case. That is a method that you learn in doctoral training, which is a lot of times people don't learn those techniques in undergraduate level training.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. Like, for instance, last night, SFT said something really kind of dumb about recombination and linkage disequilibrium concerning genetic entropy, right? So when somebody is blathering on the internet and I use my expertise with what I've learned to go after him, I'm not writing a paper. I'm not doing research. I'm not making claims about having proven or disproven evolution or anything. That's all I'm doing is coming back at him. Now, I think I have the expertise to do that because I've worked very hard to get that expertise, right? And so this is kind of a different arena. And that's what Professor Dave was doing. And essentially, that's what James Tour is doing. His credentials don't matter. What matters is what his argument is and whether or not it holds water. That's all. And I mean, we're arguing about things that you can find in textbooks and you can find online in papers. We're not doing new research. We're not claiming anything, right? So what do you think of that, Mr. Ivory Tower?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there are components of truth to that. It's not about the letters behind your name. But the reality is that the letters behind your name have some correlation with your ability to be able to understand the most sophisticated concepts of a discipline. It's not a guarantee, but if like
right, because if you
it really depends.
If you spent your life studying cancer or DNA replication,
yeah,
you may not know a damn thing about ribosomes.
I agree with that. But if we were to say, what's Dr. Tour's understanding of synthetic chemistry, I'm sure you would say he's an expert in that, and that his perspectives are likely hard. I mean, I don't want to say hard to refute because he absolutely that his and that the reason that is the case is because he has had extensive formal training in those areas. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that as you get formal training in particular areas, that it obviously is increasing, not always, but in general, increasing your knowledge in that particular area.
Well, for example, when Dr. Tour talks, I actually listen to him. And when CRISPR comes on, I shut the fuck up and listen to him, right? Because he knows what he's doing. I mean, he does have the degrees, and you know, and I understand what my position is, but the people that come on like Rob Stadler and stuff like that have PhDs in biochemistry or some damn thing, right? And they're talking shit. I mean, I have enough education to understand that they're talking shit. And I can come back at them on those particular topics because I can delve into certain papers or certain parts of it and come up with arguments against what he's saying. So, I mean, it's almost like we're weaponizing education. We're weaponizing how fast we can understand the science, right?
I mean, well, and the thing is too, like, for instance, a person can be a professional mathematician, but that doesn't mean much, like you were mentioning, right? There's many subfields of like math, like combinatorics, right. Number theory, like differential equation, all sorts of stuff, like
theory of equations.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, there's some people who are very, very like niche in their specialty. Like some people like study group theory and group theory only, whereas other people are far more like immersive, but still kind of stay within like a particular bound. Synthetic chemistry, there's all sorts of it. Like there's synthetic chemistry, like for creating different materials and stuff like that. But I think one of the points Dave was trying to make, and it's a valid point, that like just because you're a synthetic chemist doesn't mean like that you're, this like savant, or that you're this, like big shot regarding all forms like of synthetic chemistry, because it depends what you're trying to do with it, right? It depends on like what you're trying to get done. You might be trying to design clays. You might be trying to design polymers. You might be trying to design biological agents, like James Tour is doing and stuff like that.
I totally agree. However, I will say that when I found out that Dave's background, I mean, part of his videos are like, look, Dr. Tor doesn't have expertise in evolutionary biology. His expertise is in synthetic chemistry, and that he is not, he's making statements on an area of which he's not specifically trained in that area. But Dave, in and of himself, doesn't have a terminal degree in that area, and so it's
right. But the thing is, Dave isn't claiming expertise in the field at all. What he's claiming is that the claims that Professor Tor has made about like what the field knows and what the field doesn't know is incorrect.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Specifics.
Tor is making de facto statements about.
Yeah.
Prebiotically, we don't know how to make X, Y, Z, W, things like that, and that's tacitly wrong. There's experiments that show that to be demonstrably incorrect.
I was listening in, and I found the conversation interesting about autodidacts and sorry, all that good stuff, and I wanted to like come in and say. At least try to say something. Let's see.
Go ahead and try to say it.
Yeah, well, you know my hang-ups. Give me a break. But no, like I've always found it interesting that there many people who have degrees, who go to school, whatever. They seem to be. There's nothing wrong with specialization, obviously. You know what I mean? But it's just like they never want to branch out. They never want to. You know what I mean? Like learn something. Well, because like, what does this have to do with my field? Well, honey, it may seem like it has nothing to do with your field, but by branching out, into various other subjects, you can see the connections between fields, including your own. Am I wrong?
No. There's a thing about autodidacts that I think I responded to you in email, Jason, because I took what you said to heart. But an autodidact will frequently broadly cover a whole lot of different fields. And in that manner, there is room for people to do synthesis overall, top level flyby synthesis of different fields, right? And a lot of specialists that are really working in the field, the people that are working in the lab. When I studied neuroscience and consciousness, I called them lab rats, because they went down and they would just study one little nucleus in the brain, right? And that's all they did. And some of them didn't know anything about other parts of the brain, and I was always amazed by that. And so there's room for somebody who works their ass off trying to take that top level off all the information and drill down as much as they can. And so, and I think that is the function of some of these YouTube channels.
Yeah, I mean, I always. Well, no, like I wanted to say.
I'm sorry.
Adding to that, right? Ever since I looked into quantum mechanics a little bit, I can't help but see it everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? In the sense that what happens at the quantum level permeates the entire universe. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean. I still remember this. I remember mentioning quantum mechanics and how how it's involved in DNA. And Immutable over here called me standing for truth. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, he did. Immutable does that shit. Just ask me, I'll remove him.
You don't have to. What I'm just saying. I was talking about how quantum mechanics plays a part in life itself, and he called me standing for truth. I was like, you do realize that that's not a controversial statement, right? Jesus.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Please go for it.
Well, another thing, and I can't believe it took me this long to realize it. But inside the human body, I guess life itself exists because of the four fundamental laws of physics or interactions, like the reason why we're held together, basically, unless you're speed, is because of the strong nuclear force. Nuclear force, like the electromagnetic force, and also gravity, which you can argue whether gravity is an actual force or a byproduct of the other three forces. But the point I'm trying to make is that in our bodies, also the weak nuclear force, happens because that's how your body is able to break down what you eat, right? You know what I mean? The various elements break down to their most basic forms. So in other words,
next time you say epigenetics, I'm going to call you Dr. Phil.
Okay, I wasn't going to say epigenetics, but yes, epigenetics. There you go. Like I just love the field so much. It's fucking awesome. Like to figure it out. How genes are expressed and how that expression affects the protein and how a cell functions, and also it also does how the rest of the organism functions. Like it's so fucking awesome.
Do you know who Mike Skinner is?
You
should look him up. If you're into epigenetics, just Google Mike Skinner epigenetics and read some of his work. Anyways, I just mentioned that. Yeah, Mike Skinner's.
Does he have a book?
I think he's one of the seminal people that originally wrote on gene expression and epigenetics.
Environmental stress and epigenetic transgenerational, I've actually before I moved out, I've actually looked at the epigenetic of stress, because obviously I found that interesting, right? It's somebody who's been dealing with stress for years. I had to see whether there was a way to lower it, and look at that, there is. You know what I mean? Removing yourself from a certain environment will allow your body to reset itself, so to speak. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I said, I just find it very interesting.
Who wrote that book I gave you? Midnight.
Let me actually go find it.
Was that Mike Skinner?
No, I don't know. But I really gotta get back into reading that book. All right, let me go back to the Horseman.
But yeah, Jason, I'm wondering if you're familiar, like, what your opinions are on James Tour's like professional behavior regarding, like, in addressing like abiogenesis as a field.
What the fuck? Immutable? What is wrong with your mic?
Did you stuck on a helium balloon?
You sound like a chipmunk.
What the fuck? I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know. What the fuck?
It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't beautiful.
What the fuck?
Oh my god.
That's immutable?
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Oh,
I was
love
like,
it.
who was that?
Apparently. Oh Jesus.
What the fuck?
No.
Are you inhaling helium?
I think he is.
Jesus Christ.
Or maybe some other inert gas, or I don't know.
Oh my god, I need to get a drink of water. Holy
Oh my god!
All the helium
my God.
factory blew up.
I gotta clip that. I'm gonna make that its own clip. That's fucking awesome.
God damn it. Okay. I was finding. Holy shit. Oh, I can't.
Oh my god!
Oh.
All right, hey, I gotta say one thing.
ahead.
I have another stream that I told folks I would be on, so I have to split. But I wanted to. Anyways, I'm sorry. On Amy Newman's stream. I don't know
Oh,
if you know.
Larry.
okay.
Sorry, Larry Lyra, whatever.
Because like they did that. They're talking about Ken
God,
Hovind
what
and
the fuck
Ari
is wrong with
Bitterman
you?
tonight.
And beautiful. I know that
Oh,
wasn't
that was
intentional, but that was beautiful.
I don't know what the fuck
Okay,
happened there.
Jason, you wanted to say something before you went
Yeah,
to Amy's
sorry.
channel?
It's
No, I was. Can you guys can hear me? Can't you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. No, I was just saying I got a split, but because I got another thing I got to do. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, and I guess the only other thing I would add is I didn't want to ruffle any feathers on the autodidact thing. Obviously, people can learn on their own, and there have been many great scientists throughout history that have done that completely isolated and have been, my only point is that it does make it somewhat more difficult for you. And as long as you're aware of that, then that's okay.
I think you can tell that you haven't ruffled my feathers at all.
Yeah, I hope not,
Well,
Steve.
no,
Yeah,
I
I was curious if I could. Okay.
I wanted to say something very quick since he's leaving. It is obviously hard, but I guess my view is that as long as you realize it's hard but still keep going, it doesn't matter whether it's hard. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think it's like what you learn by having more formalized education and being mentored by somebody who has already gone through those trials and tribulations is that they make it easier for you to be able to. That's all I'm saying, and it can be more difficult.
I know. I agree with you, but my counter to that is that sometimes it leads to unintentional dogma. You know what I mean? Many, but not all. Of the discoveries were done by people who were outside of their field. You know what I mean? In the sense that they weren't in it. You know what I mean? They taught themselves. You know what I mean? They were not. God damn it!
Jason,
they were not bound by the fucking dogma. Sorry.
I understand that.
Jason, you haven't ruffled my feathers at all. You plucked
Good. I hope
them.
not.
I was wondering.
Like a chicken.
No.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could ask a. Hold on. I was wondering if I could ask a quick question regarding to if you have any opinions about James Tour's professionalism, when he was talking with the Discovery Institute regarding. In his behavior, regarding the origin of life community itself, and just some of the researchers, particularly, he was being very ballistic towards.
Oh, he has had some really unprofessional encounters. one of my we heard about in private. That Bruce talked about at the end of his stream. So anyway, as far as professionalism, anyway, Jason wants to bail. So Nick Sauter's over there on Amy's channel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to talk about Ken Hovind. I want to rank.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm more in my geoscience area. So
yes.
Anyways, but I didn't want to. I wanted to come on here and at least chat with you guys a little bit because I always appreciate coming on your stream speed.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
and geo is something we need to do more of, basically.
Geology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find it to be boring, honestly.
I don't know. It's very exciting.
It's awesome.
It's just so exciting.
Okay, look, the closest I'll give you, because I do find it more interesting than almost organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry.
Yeah, because
that plays a big role. That's a lot of that gets incorporated into a lot of geochem.
Well, geochemistry, for Christ's sake.
Okay, Immutable, I need to find. Why do you find it boring?
Hello, Jefferson.
Geology, it's rocks.
It's rock. It's still interesting.
Let Jason go.
I'll see you guys. Good seeing you.
Sort of. I don't know. Maybe. Kind of. I don't know. I like.
I don't know. You're weird. You're a weirdo. Anyways, moving on.
I like things that I can see that happen within the time frame of seconds to minutes to hours to days. Not
I mean, that sounds like
millions
a
of fucking years.
That sounds like a you problem.
I'm not going to be around here a million years, okay? I'm just.
I'm
sorry. I don't want to. I don't want to take. I don't want to take a million years. I don't want to have an experiment run for a million years, just to see a rock freaking metamorphose.
Wow, you are moving on because that's a lot to unpack, but we'll get into that eventually.
So Leo and Orge are over there with Nick Sauter on Amy's channel. I think we should all go over there and raid that.
Do you think that the only part of Dave's video that bothered me was the very last part of it?
I listened to that and that didn't really bother me that much. You mean number 2? The last part of number 2? What did he do?
Yeah.
That was so bad. I didn't think anything was that bad.
It sounded like he was considering taking action against informing Rice University that James Tour is an idea.
Oh, he said that on his video?
He didn't say that, but that's kind of the. I feel like that was the implication.
The Rice University logo and talk
he
about.
Did. And he said it'd be a shame if Rice University found out that one of their chairs on their advising on their science advising committee is an idea or.
I mean that's wow, that is kind of low.
To me that's territory I do not want to dive into.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it's okay, you kind of.
I wouldn't even bring that part of it up, because it was.
But he did do that.
Yeah.
He did. He did, but us bringing it up and you bringing it to our attention just makes it worse.
But do you think that was appropriate?
Well.
Do you think that was
I mean, okay. Here's the thing. Personally, you should have waited until we were off air. There you go.
Yeah,
moving on.
But it's already been public. It's already made public.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's still public. It would have been better if you would have left it out of this stream. That's the point.
The thing is when somebody made a little joke about Cell on the stream, and it was low audio, and nobody even noticed it until they brought it up and made a big thing out of it. Right? Just don't make a big thing out of it. Just let it go. Because that kind of shit, that kind of professional hatchetry is not something that we want to get involved in at all. Commenting, I understand your point, Immutable. It would, I didn't hear that part. That is a little bit iffy, but let's not make it worse.
Okay.
Jefferson, how you doing, sir?
What's that?
Well, Jefferson's down in here, so I just thought I'd see how he's doing.
Hi, Jefferson.
I was going to bring up change the subject. We have a couple of Darth Whisperers in here.
We do? Where?
Yeah,
where are they?
These two guys right here.
Which ones?
There you go. Sir
Jefferson.
Oh, Darth Whisperers.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Darth. I thought we had Darth followers in the chat.
I have something that'll probably trigger Tanya, but if Leo is lurking, then he'll probably agree with this.
No, he's on Amy's channel.
Okay. I would say like that the only way to understand quantum mechanics, and this is because it's true, is by mathematics. Like it's not at all an intuitive theory.
Why would that trigger me?
Well, you kind of have this philosophy of like, to an extent that like you should be able to make sense of something without having to go through all the hoops and barrels.
I mean, that's a straw man, but moving on.
I mean, there's plenty you can understand without knowing the quantum physics of reality. So
yeah, except for if you want to get down to like the really fundamentals of it.
Yeah, that's what I said. But you can understand a lot without having to do that. So
it depends. I mean, you can understand like 99% of the universe, except for like.
Look, Lucy.
Oh no, it's like 99% of it.
Oh, no, hold on. I want to say something. Lucy. Lucy made this point a couple of years ago: is that you don't need to understand quantum mechanics to work on water irrigation.
No, you don't. I mean, like there's some things
you can
like
ask her yourself.
Quantum mechanics. Yeah, quantum mechanics becomes like very, very significant, like when you deal with like molecular phenomenon, like cells and reactions and stuff like that.
Right, but like as I said, quantum mechanics is always in the background. You don't need to understand it or even be aware of it, but it's always in the background in everything you do, since it permeates the entire universe.
There's some things though that are like, it's kind of pretentious to say that they're quantum phenomenon, like consciousness. People that try and argue like, oh,
I mean, it's not really pretentious. When your brain, when your brain runs on biochemical electricity, like
yeah, but the networks it forms are deterministic.
Just because something is deterministic doesn't mean it's. Never mind. We're not getting in free will, but what?
Well, it something that's deterministic is against what quantum mechanics does, right? Quantum mechanics is a stochastic theory fundamentally.
Nobody ever talks about free will anymore.
You can. Jesus Christ, Scott.
Oh, they don't. When's the last time somebody had a discussion about that awesome?
But hold on. You do
movie, Free Willy.
Hold on.
Free Willy, the one where the kid punches the whale into the sky.
Here's
Go ahead.
Here's the thing, okay? Just because can't quantum mechanics also be deterministic just because it's probability?
It can.
No, it can't. And the reason for that is like what it means for something to be random in a statistical sense is that there's no operation, let's call it.
But doesn't it follow? But doesn't it follow the laws of physics? Doesn't it follow the laws of physics? Therefore, it's deterministic in a sense.
It being random is one interpretation of it. There are other interpretations that make it not random.
The theory itself is random. I mean, what the theory says is that there's superposition of states, and that when you measure it, like one happens to show up, but there isn't a mean.
That's the one interpretation you learn like the first year of college doing physics.
Well,
there are other interpretations that make it not random.
Well, yeah. You can go into like hidden variable theories and stuff like that, which are fairly fringe theories at this point.
No, these are not. These are all interpretations. None of these are theories. Like, there's no evidence for any of them. These are just ways to understand the data.
Superposition is a fairly ubiquitous phenomenon in QM. Like
He's not talking about superposition. He's talking about the interpretation of superposition, and not the the other aspects of quantum mechanics. Yeah, interpretation is different.
To me, the most basic interpretation of quantum mechanics is to just adopt like a Bayesian framework, which is to say that that the nature of quantum mechanics is a statistical theory.
Yeah, well, that's the first one you learn in physics.
Yeah, I mean, well,
there are just other ones.
The one that's mostly taught is the Copenhagen interpretation.
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen. It's that that measurement causes the wave function to collapse, which isn't incorrect necessarily. It's just kind of raises the question of what measurement means, or what constitutes a measurement.
I really gotta read that book on quantum mechanics. I have sitting on my bookshelf. I can never finish it. I always manage to finish the E equals MC square book, but never that one.
I'd say like you need pretty decent level mathematics to understand QM. You need at least differential equations in linear algebra.
I mean, not really. Well, okay, you do understand it in a level, in a level where where a physicist would. Yeah, sure, but there are science communicators who are able to present the ideas of quantum mechanics in a way of where even the layman can understand them. You know what I mean?
I agree with both of you. It's like it's like being there and being in the moment of history, and then there's the reading the history book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of there's two parts of quantum mechanics fundamentally. Part of it is the analytic side of it, which is the mostly the solving the differential equations and the framing of how certain phenomenon get derived, like particle in a box models and energy and things like that. And the other part of it is essentially linear algebra. It's dealing with quantum mechanical phenomenon as operators and vectors, like in nth dimensional Euclidean space, and how that type of framework applies within theoretical understanding of QM, which is linear algebra.
Well, I like to point out that Serb agreed with both of us. So
yeah, I know
that's a win.
you're both using understand in different ways.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'm not against the math of quantum mechanics. That's something that I want to dive into. That even though it looks like gibberish, but most people whenever they see that, they're like, "Oh my god, scary equation." And we're like, "Ooh, a puzzle."
Oh my god, Danny's in on a sock.
So I mean, what I would consider part of understanding to be in this case, as it concerns QM, is what it means to understand QM in part is to understand the mathematics.
Well, okay, I agree. That's the thing. But as long, but you know as well as I do that many people misinterpret the double slit experiment. Okay,
Well,
in
sure.
my view, if you can understand the double slit experiment, you kind of understand the concepts they're going for. Maybe you may not understand the entire thing, but you know what I mean.
You can understand. So the thing, like what I struggle with, for instance, is you can understand what the double slit is describing. You can understand what it's trying to do, but from that you can't necessarily draw why the conclusions of the double slit experiment are the way they are. Like why it's the case that the mathematical structure of QM predicts that exact phenomenon to arise.
Like honestly, I don't think I don't think we're gonna fully agree on this, so we should probably move on. Danny, how you doing, buddy?
That's not Danny. That's Danny in a sock.
No,
okay, Danny in a sock.
This is actually my main account, right?
No, you came on as Mr. Fatty or something.
Mr.
Yeah,
Feltus
doxed myself.
or something.
So nice.
I thought you weren't gonna come on anymore.
Who said that?
I don't know. You?
Me? No, I never said that.
Good. Oh my god.
You
know we
So
have to
Speed, here's a fun question for you. If you had another chance to, if you had enough time to kind of learn a topic in full, what would that topic be?
Just one? You mean that would be molecular biology? But if I had another, it would be geology, and if I had a third, it would be physics.
Huh. Okay. I'd probably go because I'd say I have. Because I'd say
I can't pick. Don't make me pick.
Yeah,
you can't really pick.
I'd say currently I have a sufficient understanding of mathematics for myself. I'd say I don't know.
I don't.
Maybe I'd want to. maybe I'd want to go more into math because there are some things I'm interested regarding like analysis and kind of like the
category theory.
Oh, I'm not category theory necessarily. I'm kind of a fan of combinatorics.
Yeah, that too.
To me, combinatorics and graph theory are probably the most interesting subdisciplines of mathematics that I like.
What is combinatorics? I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Counting.
It's the study of combinations.
Counting.
It's the study of counting, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sophisticated counting.
Interesting.
How many ways, for instance, like what, and this is actually an application of combinatorics to graph theory, but one of like open questions, for instance, is like how do you count like particular substructures of an overlying like graph, so to speak, and what a graph is in mathematics, or like in the context of graph theory, is it's just it's a set of numbers and ordered pairs, and how those ordered pairs are related to each other. So like one might be related to 3, and 3 might be related to 4, and 1 might be related to 4. And so that'd be like a triangular relationship between all those numbers.
I'm trying to patch up my knowledge in ancient philosophy because I know Zippo ancient philosophy.
Are you familiar with Stoic philosophy?
No, I just started reading a book by A.C. Grayling on and part of the book is dedicated to ancient philosophy. So I'm reading now about the pre-Socratic thinkers. But you can basically do philosophy and get away with it, like not knowing anything about ancient philosophy.
I would say it's kind of
I mean,
ancient philosophy is kind of significant though, because it
is right, but you don't need to what I'm saying, like obviously like Plato and Aristotle and like people like Heraclitus and like Epicurus, all of them have an influence on contemporary philosophy. The point is that you can get away with not studying or focusing on any of it. You can just like, understand that the idea is the ideas are borrowed from these like ancient figures, and then kind of just move on.
Are there people who still advocate like the versions of like those ancient philosophical ideas?
Yeah,
like that Heraclitus and the Stoics would put forth?
Well, I mean, like,
or maybe not quite that old.
I mean, I think what I usually hear is like, I'm an Aristotelian with respect to XYZ issue. That's what you usually hear. You don't really hear people that are just flat out Aristotelian, But so they're often they cite Aristotle and Plato and the greats and saying, look, I'm in line with this kind of view. Like Nietzsche was very much in line with Heraclitus's views because Nietzsche wanted to reject universals and like kind of like necessary truths, and Heraclitus had the view that like reality is in a state of flux. There's nothing permanent. Things constantly change. There's no universal truths, and so there's like those kind of illusions, but in terms of like saying I'm a flat out Aristotelian or I flat out accept Plato's views, I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I think like one of the paradoxes associated maybe like with Stoic philosophy, but it was in recognizing like the way we understand time as a phenomenon is by like not by time itself, but in how time changes, or like how we perceive changes in time or something like that.
The time is kind of weird. I just there's this Christian philosopher, I think its name is Dr. Mullins, who's doing stuff on time that I'm interested in. He takes the Newtonian view that time is like a property of God, because how Newton understand time was like that which allows that which allows for moments or change or something like that. And so that for Newton, he thought that seems like an attribute of God. So that's really interesting. I mean, of course, like that sort of like an inquiry like leads you to consider other views. So I really want to read that philosopher, but he's around.
It's also a pretty deep question in physics, like about the fundamental nature of time.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Dr. Mullins was talking about, he was invited to give a lecture about time, and he initially titled it was to physicists, and initially titled it as like, what is time? And the one that invited him to talk with all these physicists asked him to change the direction of the talk, because no one really knew, like, they're like, we don't really care about that question, right? Like, let's talk about like some applications of like time or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, and I don't know, like, even if once you develop a notion of like what time is fundamentally at the most like fundamental scale, if it really matters, because you're talking about science that's like really involved at that point, and like loop quantum gravity type of theories, which we're nowhere near close to having.
Mullins kind of phrased it like, "Yeah, I know what time is, but don't ask me about it," something like that. Like,
it's kind of like the kind of like that old mystery.
If time is a property of God, then wouldn't space have to be as well? Because it's actually time that we talk about in Einstein.
The other question is, what does it mean for God to act in time, like, or at different moments in time?
Yeah, I don't know. How is space? What does space make possible extension? But God has no extension.
But true. But space and you can't really separate space and time.
Yeah, I don't know if that
as a concept.
I'm right there with you. I don't know a lot about it, but it seems like I would want to know if there's a contradiction there.
I'm also trying to figure out things like that from Whitehead. I've been a couple questions about process, and so I'll be having headaches here for the next few weeks.
Yeah, Whitehead is the English philosopher that worked with like Bert Russell and them, right?
Yeah, they were contemporaneous. Is that the word? Contemporaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at his metaphysics, and I have a friend who teaches down in Birmingham. He specialized in Whitehead for a while, in teaching, and also headed up some societies, where they met and talked about Whitehead. And so
I don't know a thing about him except that he was a mathematician, philosopher.
Yeah, that was the first part of his career. Then he switched to philosophy. So, it's interesting. I'm just trying to get the concepts are hard, or at least they're different. And so it's like you're inheriting a whole new language game.
What are you reading?
Let's see.
Are you reading Whitehead himself?
Tried reading Whitehead for a while.
Trying to read Whitehead myself.
Yep.
Yeah, like don't waste your time. Like, I think that this notion of like seeking the primary sources is only reserved really for like the people that want to teach the figures.
Yeah, isn't that what your friend told you, Scott, to do? Not to bother with Whitehead, but to read that other book?
What we're doing is he sent me a couple of chapters from a basic introduction. I forget the author's name. I've got this physics and Whitehead book that I'm going to try to get through, at least through some of the simpler stuff. And then it's really going through the vocabulary, figuring out what he means by his, like actual entities, occasions, and feelings, actually. And I've got to ask my friend, what the hell feelings have to do with anything? But
what does it have to do with metaphysics?
Yeah. When he talks about because let's say there's no humans in the world, how can anything have feeling? And feeling is a part of the way things work together. I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to express it because it's such a new concept. But
but the point is that like the way one of my friends who has a PhD in philosophy said, look, in terms of like the history and what people the sort of the views of other people, there are like people that have dedicated their lives that basically have done the work for you in interpreting all the stuff. So you don't have to do the work again, you know? So just like I think the only case in which you want to read some of the primary stuff, especially like in non-contemporary philosophy, is if you're especially, you know, if you just like if it's a good in itself, or if you're teaching, like if you're doing a class about like Whitehead's work, you probably want to read the primary sources for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I did find a lecture series where John Cobb Jr. or John, I think he's a junior, but he's kind of interpreting process and reality as well. So once I get some of my own reading done, I'm going to jump into that because he's like one of the foremost Whitehead disciples, followers. He knows his work well. So I'll get it eventually. It's just going to take time. But then I want to like figure out, okay, how do you translate these concepts and find the somewhat equivalent concepts in other philosophers, if there are any, and then you know, figure out, okay, if Whitehead has something to say, how come it's not a more well-known point of view? So
that's fair. It's kind of coming back up, right? It's something that's recent.
Oh, is he a process philosopher? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So I could be wrong. I've only read about process philosophy like once, but is process philosophy, is that just where your ontology just consists of events and moments?
It consists of events and moments in relation to others.
But no properties, right? No substance, no properties, just events.
There may be substance and properties, but it's the relationship between those substance and properties which are the real things.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I interpret so far. Like I said, it's all in a new thing for me. So, but Dr. Damer was talking how process metaphysics, etc., is really applicable in terms of AI, neural networks, and things like that. And I thought, well,
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, so process philosophy opposes substance metaphysics. So they reject substances or primary units of reality. So there's just what is occurring. So it seems like they just accept events. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, it's like learning a different language. You know, at least learning how to think a different way, step outside of yourself, and think a different way. And there's still some classic Western philosophers I need to do the same thing with. You know, but it's just an interesting pursuit. And since I have a good resource in my friend, figured that would be worth taking the time now, and then continuing with looking at other schools of thought down the line.
Guys, I think we should go over and raid Amy's stream.
Well, Jefferson and Red Fang, what are y'all doing here? Tell us something.
Just came over to hang out.
Well, we're glad you did.
Red Fang is like kind of like a trapdoor spider. Like, you know, when he says something when I say something he doesn't like, he like comes out and like quips, and then he retracts back to his shell. It's kind of amusing.
Isn't Red Fang like aren't you a Christian or something?
What?
No. Red Fang. You're roboting.
Yeah, that's how much you hurt him. He roboted. Yeah. I literally came in here to shit on people calling themselves autodidacts.
Oh, I'm gonna remove you.
Some of I think some of the individuals that I learned the most philosophy from autodidacts. Actually, I think.
Wait, aren't you going to school for philosophy?
Yeah, but I talk to autodidacts more than I talk to my professors.
Yeah, because they're the best.
No,
Yeah,
this is
one thing, professors are great, but sometimes you just kind of want a direct answer. You know?
it just seems to me like generally I find that people that are going for higher degrees are autodidacts.
Going
like
for higher degrees?
Yeah, like they're not just an undergrad, right? They're going for a master's or a PhD or
like the
postdoctorate
autodidact
field.
Like Jack Angstreik's probably taught me the most philosophy, and he has no degrees.
I think you're wasting your money then.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean, if you're pursuing a higher degree and you're not learning more than what you can learn from Jack, you're wasting your money.
I don't know if
I don't think so.
I would pursue a degree if I had a lot of time to waste.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of time. I enjoy lectures, and I'm trying to learn how to. They offer great feedback for my writing, and they suggest good readings. I'm just saying that in terms of this is the true of science. I think too. Like, I think you learn the most science when you do it. You could read all about biochemistry and all the chemical pathways and memorize them, but it's like one of those things where, like, if you do it, I think a person that does science, like, to me, has a kind of stronger understanding of it than someone that just memorizes from a biology textbook.
But wouldn't you feel trapped in your particular little tiny focused world? I mean, it would be like being in a cave underwater and in one of those tight spots and not being able to get out.
Well, you don't know.
Am I still roboting now?
No,
you're good.
No,
You're good.
like being well versed in your specific field, being on the edge there, that's where you actually see the whole giant scope of possibility.
Yeah, but only in that one little particular field.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're aware of so much possibility at that point that looking behind you, all that other shit that like everyone else can pick up a book and read in some pop science magazine seems really small.
Yeah, but that's a feeling I have every day of being aware of all this possibility. So I don't really know.
What are y'all talking about?
Possibility. Being able to see into that little, like you can see into your field and you can suddenly see all the different ways it can branch out and different things it could be and what could happen. It's just an unbelievable feeling. When you learn enough about a subject that you can start to view where it could go, or what could possibly be there. That's what,
like, you're not like in the introductory levels, like in, let's say, in grade school, you don't really see the end of the light, of like in terms of like, novel research and
yeah, that's a feeling that wakes me up every morning, actually.
Yeah, I didn't get that to a few years with philosophy. I thought I didn't realize how much I could just it's really, actually, at least in philosophy, not that hard to like come up with something novel, and then I didn't realize that till a few years ago.
That's the cool thing, isn't it? When you get to that point where all of a sudden you're starting to think in terms of, I have an idea that I don't think anybody else had before. I mean, that's the
I thought I was kind of stuck, at one point. I'm like, okay, this is as far as I can go. I can read someone's view, understand it, and then not contribute to anything.
Yeah, that's what makes life meaningful for me, actually, being able to see things. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the less specialized you are, the closer you are to someone who just likes to read.
Nope. It depends on how much work you do. Okay. Well, there's
some people read a lot.
Yeah. Okay. But there's like that top level, right? But then if you take deep dives everywhere, you poke holes in that fabric of what and you dive in as deep as you possibly can, right to the point where you pulled all the papers on the subject and you're starting to get a feel for it. That's the point where what Danny and I were talking about happens to you, where you suddenly see the next step. And you can do that whether you have a fucking degree or not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that people don't know, but they could be an expert in anything. I think you could be an expert in just about any kind of field without any amount of higher education.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree with that. That's why I said specialization, not education.
Well, if you specialize, you're like, isn't that a specific kind of education?
I mean, you can be self-education. Right?
If you just read the pop books on something like quantum mechanics, you don't know shit. You know, you have to at least try to tackle the text and try to take a few deep dives into the subject, and then you're going to start to feel a little bit more expertise, I think. But I mean, you can do that by yourself, and I think you can do it quicker than you can in a university.
There's like a weird thing, like where like people have all the information in their fingertips, you know, when they're, you know, in their phones or whatever, and we choose to like do TikTok shenanigans, you know, like you know, they literally could be an expert in any field, and then it's TikTok dances. I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of weird. I get it, but it's at the same time, it's just kind of amusing.
Yeah, or World of Warcraft.
Well, that was me. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a matter of economics, right? There's more economic potential for, you know, women of, let's say, around the age of 18 in dancing on camera than there is them spending a few days in college or something.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing dancing on camera for fun, right? That seems
money.
Like
yeah. Well, they're programmed to think it's fun.
I don't know what that means.
I know one lady who used to clean her house, and now she's a millionaire.
She used to clean a house?
Used to clean her house, and then she got this idea to do this topless house cleaning service, and that.
Oh,
and then she went. She owns about 30 properties, and she is fucking well to do. I mean,
what do you think about that philosophy, boy?
Yeah. She is well to do, and it's like, and I'm like, go girl, you know what the fuck?
I could be your father, Caravis.
You could.
I don't know. Yep. Okay, guys. You know what time it is?
Is it
time to shoot in the head?
It's bedtime, isn't it?
No, fuck. This is just when I start watching television and eating dinner, watching TV. Bedtime. When you're my age, bedtime is like a fucking dream from the past. There's no such thing.
There reaches a time where sleep does not come.
Sleep does not come.
It's almost night time.
Or even worse, it comes, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep.
I think deep down inside, Speed is just like getting ready to come out of his cocoon, where he's going to start preparing to wake up for Denny's at 5 a.m.
Yep.
I'm going to go to church tomorrow, actually. I kind of miss it.
Yeah, this is about the time that I start pounding down tryptophan and melatonin, trying to shut myself off and watching whatever the fuck I can on Netflix.
But I hope I can wake up early. But
it's Mother's Day tomorrow.
Yeah, but she's 4 hours away, so I'm going to church instead.
You going to church?
Yeah, I miss it. I kind of want to just like see everyone.
Really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've been to church for a while.
I'm a member at a Baptist church around the corner, and it's a pretty large church. And
yeah, it's been 62 years for me.
62 years?
Yeah.
But that's if I wake up on time. If I wake up on time, then I'll go.
Dr. Darth Dawkins, disciple. Who the hell is this?
Okay. Is it John Peterson?
I don't know who it is.
God, I hope so. I'm going to talk to John in ages.
Yeah, he was on the Rage earlier.
Is Jefferson asleep?
I think so. He maybe he's hiding out here. Maybe somebody's after him.
He came in, was unmuted, didn't say anything. Someone spoke to him, then he muted.
I know. It's like, shut the fuck up.
How dare you speak to me?
On this stream, which is about talking.
Just someone address him. Mr. Disciple, are you actually a disciple of Dr. Dawkins?
Yes, I am. No, it's a cafe from the chat, man.
Your cafe?
Oh, yeah. Cafe. Hey. Hi.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Cafe. I've never heard you talk.
I know we've been on stream before. One time, I think.
Okay.
Said it like a few weeks back, though.
Damn, I was kind of hoping it was one of his disciples.
I just swallowed a pound and a half of shrooms.
It's not enough. Take more.
Yeah, you might want to go to the hospital.
dried or fresh, man.
You fucking
can't
youngin,
die
you
from
just
those.
don't. You don't know how to do it.
No, you don't understand. He's like a lactheist, like looking for God. He needs to eat more mushrooms.
Yeah, you fucking youngins, you read the label and it says like, "Oh, take 2," and like you take 2. It's like, come on, those are recommendations.
I'm usually getting about 12. So
yeah, I like my liver and kidneys.
Oh, fucking overrated.
If you're talking about the heroic dose, man, it's Terrence McKenna puts it at like 5 to 8 dried grams, and
5
that's
to
pretty
8
much
dried?
yeah, dried.
He's a pussy. Eat more.
No,
Yeah.
he did eat more. My last dose was 16 dried grams, and I haven't. Yeah, that was like a couple years back. And,
At least triple that.
I was wondering what happened to you.
I think I've eaten about. Yeah, I think I've eaten about 5 or 6 at a time. I mean, that's usually a pretty good,
that was for someone who weighs about 140 pounds. If you weigh like more than that, you want to go higher. It's not a fixed dose. Like what you're looking to happen, if you want like a description of like not just all the visuals and all that, but just something physical. You're not going to be able to walk on this level. Like even the volunteers at Johns Hopkins, they're on the couch the whole time. You can't walk, at the height of these experiences.
I did. I think I estimate 3,000 mics of acid one time, and it was interesting.
Did you see Raging Atheist stream speed?
No, I didn't.
Oh well, John Peterson was there, and he kicks me out like 5 times. You might, if you take enjoyment in that, you should watch.
Well, John actually called me to tell me about that, and we
pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. Yep.
He's having fun with you, Danny. I mean, if he didn't like you, he probably wouldn't be there. I mean, I'm just saying. So.
Oh well, no, I don't think that's mutually exclusive. I think he hates me, but I think he's having fun too.
No, he liked you. He kind of likes you, I think.
Really? Am I just weird? Am I the only one sitting here thinking like, who has the torture chamber?
Yeah, with that sound in the background. Yeah, I just figured it was people on mushrooms running down the hallway screaming somewhere around Cafe's apartment or house or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, yeah, it just had a sense.
Yeah, sure. It's not my torture chamber.
So
I live in an apartment complex.
I'm hoping someday you do enough mushrooms that you find at the very end of that little that hole you're driving into where you find God, that you realize that on the other side of that is pure atheism.
Man, I don't think people that done mushrooms at level, they're not looking for God anymore. Like, in their experience, they've already found that the challenge then is to deal with it.
But you have to punch all the way through until you get back to the atheism, and then you're in the right spot.
You hear like Werner Heisenberg. I'm pretty sure you've heard that quote where he says like the first gulp will turn you into the natural sciences will turn you into an atheist, but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. They had the other attitude, the other way around.
Yeah, no, those pussies haven't gone far enough. You have to go further until you're back to the atheism.
Yeah, you have to eat the glass.
Yeah.
Man,
then you find Jesus.
Yep.
I think really what that experience represents, like one of the reasons I wanted to chime in was because you all were going into philosophy, and I don't know if Danny's still in the room, but if he took off, but he mentioned the Greek philosophers, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of I don't know if you've ever heard of the Eleusinian mysteries or the Taikion, but that supposedly there was Brian Murudescu's book where he talks about how there was a site in Greece where they would meet up to try the Kaikion, which is what they think might be a psychedelic of some sort. They're not sure which, but they think they have evidence from this plant material, things that they found inside these vessels at these sites, and it's really compelling evidence. I don't know if you've read that book or if any of you have come across it.
I mean, I know a lot about it. And the first thing you should know about the mysteries is the first rule is you don't talk about the mysteries.
Is somebody torturing children in the background?
No, that is
The
my
dogs are
my.
having a-
Yeah, that is my background. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Are they not in bed? I mean, sleeping? It's just like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a Saturday night. Like,
Oh, I was. We had our
Well,
kids.
better question is where does he live? I'll tell you what time zone he's in.
West, but
yeah, we're 9 o'clock right now, so.
yeah. So oh, that's right. It's kind of early there, but I had my kids convince my twins for a long time that the gates of hell open at midnight, so that they would make sure they fell asleep before the gates of hell open. And then, like when they were like 6, 7 years old, they come down and we put them to bed, and they came back down. And they said, "Why do we have to go to bed at like 9 o'clock at night?" And I'm like, "Because mommy and daddy will kill you if you don't go to bed." And they said, "Okay," and they went back on went to bed. It was just so. That was I had some wonderful moments as a father. That's pretty good. They're still in therapy.
But they live.
That's a true story, by the way.
Now, see, you did it all wrong, right? So you only messed them up enough to send them to therapy.
Yeah,
you need to mess them up so bad that they are the therapy.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. It worked for me. My mom just told me the story about the kid getting lured into the van. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's good enough for me. Like, I'll
and
be
that
home
only
before
happens
street lights
after
come
9
on.
o'clock at night, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're up after 9, you're fucked.
Yeah, but did she train you? Did she throw candy in the back of vans?
No, that never happened. I did have one instance where she had a family friend come pick me up from school, but it wasn't planned. So I was like, I'm like, I know you, but I'm not getting in the car with you. I made him call her. He had to call her at work, and yeah, so it was an ordeal. But it was, probably.
Oh, the coolest thing. My kids were I don't know, they were 12 years old or 13, and we finally let them go and look at toys by themselves at Target, and they ran into my nephew who had been at our house 15 times, and they just treated him like he was a child molester, and they kind of stayed away from him. And he's like, well, what the fuck? And they said, well, we weren't, we knew it looked like you, and it seemed like you, and it sounded like you, but we weren't 100% sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've given my kids, I made them a little too paranoid. That's where I realized I'd overparented. It's like, shit. He was all offended because they wouldn't go anywhere near him. They thought he was like a stranger.
I mean, that's the way it should be. I mean, if you're not sure,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they weren't 100% sure that it was him. Could have been an imposter. It looked like him. Just yeah.
Have you guys seen that Netflix on Madeline and Mary O'Hare, the movie they made on her on Netflix?
Is it a few years old?
Yeah, it's not that old. Yeah, it's a few years old. And
I don't think I ever saw it, but
what was it called?
The Most Hated Woman in America, I think, is what they titled it. I think it's still on there. I don't think they ever took it off.
Who's that?
Hillary? No, that famous atheist that started American Atheist.
Mary O'Hare.
Yeah, and then she got murdered in San Antonio, Texas. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah, you're Central Time Zone, right?
Yeah, it's 11:12 right now where I'm at.
Yeah, I thought you were further west. I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think we should all go to Amy's channel because they're all having a really good time there.
Yeah. Don't tell Jefferson. Don't tell Jefferson we're leaving.
He's sleeping already. He's sleeping.
So Speed, why did you think I was a Christian?
I don't know. I see you on Praise's channel all the time, and you were one time you were saying some shit, and I thought, what the fuck is he talking about? But I kind of figured it out. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I still hold the record on Praise's channel being kicked. So
okay. I apologize. I misread something the other day. I don't see you too often, so.
2 questions, Speed. Have you seen the link I put in there to Bruce Damer's channel, he's doing some release of a video about Terrence McKenna Day.
That how long ago was that?
It was about, I don't know, it could have been an hour ago.
It was like a long time ago.
Yeah, but it's his latest video. And then also, y'all talked about a guy named Nick Souter or Nick Suter in Amy's channel.
Yeah, he's on there now.
Know that name? Who is he?
He's a philosopher, Nick Souter. He's,
okay. And for reference, who's Amy?
Amy Newman?
I don't know.
Amy Newman. I'll put the video early in here. Leo's over there, and Nick Souter. Jason's over there now, and Amy, and who else is there?
Orge. He stepped out on us, I believe. He's just,
Yeah, Orge is over there.
He had other YouTube channels.
I think they just like the title. They got to practice the title.
Midnight Ranting, Age of the Universe, that sort of thing.
They're talking about flat. They have a flat earther in the room right now.
Oh,
is that why they're laughing?
Oh, fun.
The devil, you say?
Shit. What?
I got $20 that he's a Christian.
And $20.
Flat earther? Yeah. Somebody was comparing
that he will not change his mind.
Right.
I haven't. Now that you mention it, I have never run into a flat earther that wasn't at least some kind of
theist.
Well, I would say spiritual, right? Because you can get some wackadoos that aren't necessarily like Christian or something.
I got this book, Denying Evolution by Pilucci. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Massimo Pilucci.
Massimo Pilucci. And he has like a spectrum with flat earthism, geocentrism, young earth creationism. And then he goes all the way down to gap, day age, progressive intelligent design, theistic evolution, and materialistic evolution. So he's got like a line. I don't know. I can show you.
How about just cantankerous contrarian?
That's a great one.
We can stuck the cam here, but anyway, it's oh shit, hard to do on the But I don't know if you see the graph. He's got like a line going down. Flat Earth is at the top of fucking crazy. It's at the top of Mount Crazy. So, it's pretty cool. But I'll show you the picture of the book. Got it yesterday. It's Massimo.
Nice.
Denying Evolution. And he's got a history of creationism in here, which is pretty good. Actually, I don't know when it was written, but I just picked it up for some reason. Let me see. Let me check it. 2002. So not that old. Dr. Garth is back.
Hi again.
So, I apologize. That was an accident.
That's no problem.
Yep.
Yeah,
it will happen on StreamYard.
His favorite almost got away. He had to chase him down with the trank gun.
Yeah, every time I come in, I always try to meet up with Danny or Leo Filius, and they always head out.
They always head out. Yeah. Well, come on into the weather
I think
report.
Danny's avoiding me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't run into him.
Red Fang? Danny's avoiding you? Or
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we just never get an opportunity to talk. Like I think I was on last time with them, but they were like we were into. I think Amy was in the room, and it was like we were like all against her. It was weird. I don't know. It was a while back.
Hey, look, if you ever want to have a conversation with someone really pedantic and worried about nonsense, I can pretend.
Yeah, Sir's really good at that.
Then you're Danny. Can you channel Danny? Sorry.
Danny.
No.
I don't know what you mean.
I really wanted to.
I don't know what you mean. Sorry.
Well, do you know what happened? Okay, do you know what happened tonight on Knox Stream? Danny came in and John Peterson was there, and John Peterson said something like okay, and Danny says, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And John booted him. John booted him immediately, and then he kept coming back, and he came the last time he came back as an unrecognizable sock account. and he says, "I just want to say a few," and then boot. He got booted.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've done that with Danny too. It's hilarious.
He's actually one of the few theists who followed me on Twitter, but hasn't engaged with me at all. So I don't know what the status is there. I was the one who I think he's avoiding me because it seems like every time I jump into a stream, he hops out. So
you mean Danny?
Yeah.
He's not a theist.
Oh, he's not.
Not on our channel.
Well, he says he's an atheist, but he's going to church tomorrow, and
he's real buddy with the Christians. So
I know.
Yeah, I've seen him over on LPP's channel and places like that. So I mean, he seems to be really friendly with those guys.
Yeah, and he used to have guys run trains on him, and he's totally not gay.
Yeah, like dick sucking. He's dick sucking friendly over there. I mean, and he comes over here, and he comes in sometimes just all like really, really comes in hot, and I have to boot him.
He's seeking a higher degree in philosophy, but he's learned most of everything he knows from Jack.
Yeah,
this guy's totally legit.
Jack was here the other day for a few minutes, but he didn't say much.
He didn't say anything, did he?
He didn't really say anything. He just kind of stopped. I think it was he came in for Darth, I think, and Darth had already bolted.
I just thought he was afraid of my hyena avatar.
Yeah.
Oh, Darth was here?
Yeah, I was happy that I got to call Darth a piece of shit. Well, I put a thing out and I said that Darth is a liar, a fraud, and something else. And he came in
on that stream.
He came in and said, "Can you back any of that up?" And I'm like, I didn't really. That's not why I said it.
I just wanted to piss you off. Oh, you made me a troll. It's like, why are you being confrontational, dude?
Yeah,
he said some of Kafai's mushrooms.
Yeah, he called me a troll, and I said, "Yes, I am a troll." Yes, and he didn't know where to go with that. So.
No, Danny's a contrarian, man. If you're a theist, he's an atheist. If you're an atheist, he's a theist. He's always going to try to argue you.
Yeah.
I don't even think he knows what he is, really. He's on a journey.
I think he just lacks the discourse, If you have one position, he'll take the other one just to see where it goes.
Yeah. And sometimes he really contributes a lot to a conversation. I got to say that. So
when he called into the atheist experience, I think that's what he did. He wasn't really trying to argue with Matt. He wanted to try to have a discussion, and Matt wasn't up for that. Because Matt wants someone to call in with an argument. Yeah, and
like his what he was doing was that argument for dualism, and so it's not your standard argument. At least I'm not familiar with it. So I think Matt and them are just unprepared for it. Haven't read anything. I haven't thought anything through. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but I think Matt, he said if it's not relevant to whether a God exists, then it doesn't matter. He didn't want to get into that.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of the show. You understand why he has such a short fuse after such a long time.
So I know why you're here, Red Fang. Praise doesn't have a stream tonight.
No, he's got a stream right now. He's streaming live.
What the hell? On what channel?
Praise that I am. He got his channel back.
Yeah, but I don't see a stream. There's nothing on there. What happened?
Praise that I am.
Oh, the other one, the old channel.
Yeah, his 3 month strike is up, so he got his channel back.
Well, no, I thought I checked out his old channel.
Yeah, he doesn't have one on his old channel right now.
No, he's got it on that new channel. Praise I am that I am apologetics.
Yeah,
he's got a live stream on that.
Yeah, that's his original channel. Oh, he just added the apologetics at the end.
He should have just added some more that I am. So it'd be like praise that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. You could do it to William Tell Overture.
Well, you do the Popeye song.
Popeye,
yeah.
I think I realize what I'm going to do for fun. Next atheist experience. I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him. Tell Dilla, honey, he's my God. And then I'm going to say, and you do exist, checkmate atheism, and I'm going to start just saying gibberish into the phone like I'm speaking tongues until he kicks me.
Oh, you're gonna get booted. Oh, that'd be
You
awesome.
better clip that.
Do that tomorrow. I will watch
You
that
make a
tomorrow.
song account, dude. Oh no, that's
Of course, you can't guarantee that you're gonna, get your call's gonna come through. But yeah, I got a proof for God. Do they ask you what your proof is, like as a, before you get onto the show? Do they ask you like what it is? I wonder.
They ask you
Yeah,
whether you're an
you have to go through
atheist.
the call screener. Yeah.
Yeah, they ask you whether you're an atheist or whatever, and then I think they ask you for a topic. Then they put you in a queue. If you're an atheist, you'll never get on the show. So
Yeah, I have a proof for God.
Getting by a call screener is pretty easy, though.
Yeah,
just lie. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't do that, but I can have other people do it for me.
My best advice. I mean, I haven't called into AXP, but from calling into other shows, just keep it simple. That's the main thing. Be concise. Just be short-winded. Like because they kind of ask a couple fleecing questions. So.
Yep.
I've spoke to Matt, but I've never spoke to Matt on his new show, the line.
The Hang Up?
The Hang Up. What do you call it? I threw a super chat once on the Hang Up, and he answered it. He said, I asked him when is he going to take the heroic dose, and he said it's on his bucket list. So, he said he's going to eventually get around to it. But, I think I also said something like, it's double your strawberry man dose. I don't know if you heard his LSD trip about the super strawberry or whatever. But
oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and he he got kind of offended by that. He was like, "How do you know what my LSD dose was?" Because like real quick, the idea of you seeing a strawberry arises between this duality. And in that state, there is non-duality. There is only unity. There is no subject-object relationship between something and other, between yourself and something else. It's all one. And so that description of a super strawberry is obviously not what the experience is. And so so that's why I said double your LSD dose. So he shouldn't question. That's how do you know what I did? He even admitted he hasn't taken the heroic dose. It's on his bucket list. So. There you go.
You need to take all the drugs at once, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the people who say that usually are the people who haven't tried this yet, But put it on your bucket list.
No, I've tried some.
Thank you.
I just want people to really get in there.
Yeah, definitely. Then that's what I'm talking about.
Everyone's out here playing in the kiddie pool. I want you to take just a fistful of hash and eat it. And then as soon as you start peeking, just down a bunch of mushrooms and just take a heroic dose of DMT and go talk to the machine elf.
Well, no, you see, that's what I'm talking about. Like when you say the machine elf, you're still talking about the subject object. Like everyone kind of dissolves into the same experience. What people are describing is the exact same thing. It's it has nothing to do with your personal history because the famous name for it in psychology is ego death. There is no ego there. There is no self there is no self identity that you're ordinarily familiar with in your everyday reality. That is gone in the experience.
You hear that dog?
That's great.
Yeah.
He knows. Okay, go ask
there's a
him.
distinction between you and that dog.
I think
that dog knows.
I think that's a narrative. I think that's a narrative that people learn before they take it, and then that's how they interpret what they experience. Because when I did it, I didn't know that narrative, and I had the completely opposite experience.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean by opposite?
I had ego growth. It became huge.
Cool.
That what can happen to some people, but I usually let's say someone has this experience. It's not the height. We're not talking about the height of the experience itself. Sometimes it's the way they interpret it ever afterwards. What I'm talking about is the phenomenon in and of itself. That it's such a universal phenomenon in consciousness that what people are describing in 10,000 BC in Hinduism is the same thing that Christian mystics are describing in 100 AD. What Johns Hopkins volunteers are describing in today, and from even 100 years from now, I think it would still be the same.
You think religious experience is like a psychedelic experience, essentially, is what you're saying?
Well, no, they do
For
occur
some,
on the
yes.
gradient, man. I do want to make an important point, and it does occur in a spectrum. And there can be the lighter part of the spectrum where there is still this subject-object relationship. And if you grew up a Christian, you might see Christ on the cross. If you grew up Muslim, you might see Muhammad. If you're a Hindu, you might see Shiva. But you're still operating with this in subject-object dichotomy. Or if you're Matt Dillahunty, you might see the super strawberry. But it's still necessarily out of this subject-object dichotomy. And at the height of this experience, beyond what they call the archetypal or the visionary experiences that we're talking about, is something that's beyond words, beyond time and space. It cannot be described, and this is universal. It becomes universal. It has nothing to do with your personal history at this point. You're not seeing Jesus anymore. You have fused with the divine, or with it's called Brahman, God, Allah, so forth. The mystics, Sufis, yogis, shamans, they're all describing something else at that point. And it's something that's universal and intrinsic to us. And I think even the science is trying to show that when they invoke the perennial philosophy, that, the beatific vision of the Christians, the nirvana of Buddhism, samadhi of Hinduism, these are all different ways of saying that's referring to that one phenomenon that's a universal to us. It's just a biological universal phenomenon in consciousness. That's all. That's the way it's characterized in the neuroscience. And I think people, they don't grasp it because they don't know the gradient between the experience, because they have largely because they haven't had it, And so it's hard to interpret research that's saying, okay, there's these gradients, there's this visionary experiences, then it all dissolves into this timeless, spaceless. People are describing an area of like permeated with unconditional, infinite love. They're all describing unanimously the same thing. In their own unique way, in their own unique vocabulary. They're all talking about the exact same thing.
Well, it's also based on the fact that you are all human beings that are taking this, right? And you all have the same brain structure, and LSD and psychedelics affect your brain in a certain way. And one of the first things they do is change the filters that you have on your sensory, the filters and the ability to predict what you're seeing, so that all of a sudden your peripheral vision becomes very, very prominent and you can't blank it out. And your senses become expanded, as they put it, right? But what we used to do with psychedelics is my friend and I read about them from the time we were 12, and we got to do them when we were like 18 or 19. And we did it about 100 times. So we used to use it to play with our minds and our senses. And those experiences that you're having are very much, I believe that you are very much reading a lot into it. And I know you believe that there's something you're reaching out there, but you could probably reach that if you could put a rope around your neck and tighten it up really good, but not kill yourself. Like if you do that for 4 hours, you may experience some of the same things, because your brain is actually not working the way it ordinarily works. And it's a wonderful fucking experience, because you can learn how to set, like right now I can see phosphenes, unless there's, if the light is slightly dim, and I can sense things at a higher level as a result of having done acid so many times. I actually change the way I experience things, right? So you can use that. And you can also use it. The ego death you're talking about requires a little bit more work than just doing drugs.
Well, no, I agree
you're
that
gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it, but you're not gonna know what the fuck you're feeling. And a lot of people really freak out when it happens.
I agree that it can happen in many ways, man. I mean, I don't think psychedelics are the sole route to it. You mentioned like
nervous breakdown.
Or even the astronauts who practice in 6G, where they have to do that training and they pass out. Some of them report mystical experience, and people who are in certain types of seizures, like I forget which temporal lobe seizures. There's a specific type, I think Geschwin syndrome. They report hyper religiosity. So there's a lot of ways it could happen. I don't doubt that. but I guess what the science is trying to say is that what you find in religion as mysticism is, referring to what the core of religion. They're referring to these mystical states of consciousness that, it's just a way of characterizing it, I guess, and it is how the neuroscience characterizes it today. I don't really see what the contention is. What am I not? How am I reading into this too deeply? In other words,
no, I don't want to interrupt, but if maybe I could connect there. I think I read an article pretty recently that archaeologists actually found significant evidence that they were burning hashish, among other things, in the very early synagogues. And so that may have played a part. In the Jewish Revolution right before Christianity came about.
Cool. By the way, Dessel Drace is the rain on the Buddhist parade. He's a buzzkill when it comes to ego death and Buddhist experiences or psychedelic experiences. Buzzkill.
Yeah. I would agree that. I mean, the interpretation that it's ego death is literally your ego.
He reminds me of.
You can talk about that now, but you can only talk about it in terms of ego right now while you have it. Like in that state, it isn't there. And if you're still talking about your ego, you're not inside a so-called complete mystical experience.
Well, but you would essentially. I mean, most of us would become non-functional if we were to take psychedelics all the time.
Exactly, that's
all
the
the
point.
time. We would be. Yeah.
That's the point. And that's why I said if you took this large dose, you're not going to be able to walk. The non-functional. That was my point. Even the Buddhists are sitting in meditation. They're not doing anything. They're perfectly still. And the person in the seizure, so forth. They're immobilized. That's the point. And I mean, see, that's the point I'm trying to emphasize, and that it hasn't been understood. Sometimes I see like maybe I'm not getting it across. And not a lot of people. It's not I'm not telling anyone to do this. To take a large dose of a psychedelic, I mean, it could be really psychologically challenging. I mean, some people are urged to suicide sometimes in the experience, like if they're even able to have a sense of ego at all, because they're grasping. They don't want the ego death to occur. There's a lot of things that go on inside that experience. It's not something I would tell someone to do, but I mean, atheists are always interested in these topics, and a lot of the neuroscientists today are comparing these very high doses to the mystical states of consciousness that the mystics throughout the ages have entered into of all the major religions. And, that's what they're trying to get at, and it's not easy to articulate, I suppose. Obviously,
like we've known a way to kill your ego permanently for literal centuries.
I don't think it's a permanent ego death. Like,
well, I know. You know a way to do it permanently.
Temporal pride.
It's a temporal thing. Like, William. That was one of the main things William James emphasized, is that it's ephemeral, and you can't. In other words, if you're in ego death, of course you can't function. You have to be able to come back, and when you return to the baseline of consciousness, this phenomenon that just occurred, it remains in your memory banks, and that vision or that experience that people have. People are all describing it, and they can describe it. And I know Speed said, we're all humans, we're all similar. That's when I first started studying this stuff. That's what I came to terms to. Like, I'm okay, yeah, that's probably what's going on. But if you follow this science, man, it's quite clear that the professionals see it a little bit deeper than that, man. Like they think it's part of the structure of consciousness itself. And if you think any other creature on this planet experiences consciousness, that it's not something just part of human beings. It seems to be ubiquitous, to any entity that possesses consciousness.
Oh, that's obvious.
So I mean, but like I said, we have a way to permanently get rid of ego if that's like anyone's goal. It's called lobotomy.
Oh yeah. But I don't think permanently getting rid of ego is the point. Like I think like one time Terrence McKenna said, ego is good. You want to keep it in a balance, but you don't want to be so out of touch with it that when you pick up a spoon and you put the food in someone else's mouth instead of yours when you're hungry. You know, like, but you know, that was just a comment on like to keep ego in a balance, and I think it's necessary to have ego. But a lot of times when people have this experience, you know, it's such that the non-duality is such that did I experience it, or did I have this experience, or did it experience me? And so people have this. Alan Watts used to say that, you know, the wave is the function of the entire ocean. It's what the entire ocean is doing at that moment. And in a very similar way, a human being is what the entire universe or the multiverse is doing at that very moment.
Well, that is kind of the check of the ego on that part of the brain, though, because the only other indicator like you could have is feedback from other sentient beings. So you can only have the response you get from people in a room like this, from your family, from your dog. Like, if you don't have that, then the whole existence, the totality of existence becomes totally absurd. Like, I don't know. That's where I would kind of draw that line there. Like, and I've taken some psychedelics. I've had some experience, but like I always try to maintain that. Oh wait, there are like other creatures around me experiencing things, regardless of what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah, I guess Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were not done. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say, I mean, the only real issue I have with any of this is sort of the connotations to the language, right? And I mean, I think a lot of the thoughts about it go away when you understand ego death is basically equivalent to increase of confusion. As soon as you start replacing those two terms, it sounds stupid now.
Well, I mean, when people
there's another thing that you can do, and that's just to quit thinking. Okay, and when you learn how to quit thinking, when you learn how to stop that thought process, then you're right there with ego death.
I was going to make that same point. I was going to make that same point because a lot of people, when they speak of the experience, they're speaking of it in retrospect, and so they'll say of it, it's like the clearest of the clearest, the sharpest of the sharpest. It's never enlightenment. It's never been more clear. And how what Speed just said right now, there is I lost what he said right now. The last thing you said, Speed. The last point you were making.
Thinking?
I wanted to elaborate on that.
Like stop thinking. Basically.
Oh yes. In meditation, it's and not just stop thinking. It's the cessation of volition. I don't know if you're familiar with this term, volition.
Yeah.
You probably are. But in meditation, there is the cessation of volition, and that's easier said than done. That's the goal of meditation, of the very ancient meditation, the yogis, the way they practiced it to have these experiences, and that is a form of ego death. That's a form of letting go, because
one form of it is to put a book on a table across the room and walk across the room and pick up the book without doing anything about picking up the book before you actually do it. And until you actually pick up the book, there's nothing in your mind about picking up the book. Yet you are walking across the room to pick up the book. And that is an interesting little exercise.
The only time that ever happens with me is when I'm like in the kitchen. I say, I need to go get some socks out of the bedroom. And I walk into the bedroom. I go, I can't remember why I'm in here.
Right.
And then
that sounds so mechanistic. I mean, I don't want to like get pedantic, but if we're talking about ego, what I understand like psychologically when we're talking about ego, it's more a sense of self-consciousness. I think that's what the yogis are talking about. You want to strip away that sense of self-consciousness.
Yes, exactly.
In your activities.
You want to strip away. You want to strip away the narrative that you built over the course of your lifetime about your self-consciousness or about yourself.
But self-consciousness is built around your perspective of what other people perceive, not really yourself.
Yeah, and the other thing is that a whole lot of our ego is based in what other people, the way other people perceive us, or we think other people perceive us, and it's sort of about stripping. But I mean, what you're doing, Kafai, is you're reaching that state, right? And you're seeking You're seeking something.
No, I disagree, man. Like, I agree. I was going to elaborate on your point. I agree. Like, there's one really good quote I like from Watts is that, because I think you're talking, well, I'm trying to make a distinction. I say there's this state of non-dualism, and then there's this ever afterwards where we have to try to benefit from the fruits of those insights of non-dualism. And I think that's what you're talking about. And Alan Watts put it beautifully. He said, in Zen, one doesn't peel potatoes while thinking about God, while philosophizing and contemplating.
Yeah.
One just peels the potatoes.
Yeah, because that becomes the goal, and then you can get all fucked up. And
yeah,
at some point, you got to just live your life, and hopefully, you can live your life with that. Basically the skill of letting your ego go, quieting your mind, all of that stuff, and you live a perfectly sober, normal life. And of course, your ego is a tool like any other tool, right? I mean,
I agree with you.
Yeah, when it comes to balancing your bank account or depositing money in your bank, ego's a pretty fucking good thing to have.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier with Terrence talking about putting a fork in someone else's mouth, balancing the ego. That was the point I was trying to make earlier. But no, exactly. I completely concur, man.
Yeah,
I still think you guys should think about this while also removing the positive connotations from it. All right, like being present, you should replace with becoming turd-like, and see if you guys still like it.
No, that's a whole field of Zen, Zen turdism, and becoming the Zen turd. I mean, that is a whole methodology. Don't get me started on
shower
that.
for a month.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
also means don't shower a month and don't wipe when you go to the toilet.
You need to sit, imitate rock, become more like turd, and increase your confusion.
No, I think even Alan Watts said the best Zen poem is a dry turd or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, if you're speaking about it like that, even though it describes exactly what you're doing, it's going to sound less cool.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we're down to 7 people watching, and I think those are the people in the room.
That would be mathematically correct.
I'm not watching.
Let's end the stream, and you guys can hang out in the back room. And the last time I ended the stream, Leo and Danny were in here, and I don't know what the fuck they did, but they offended the hell out of a few people. Anyway, so I'm going to shoot the stream in the head because nobody is really watching anyway, and we can just talk in the back room, okay? Or you guys can talk. I'm going to head out here soon. Okay. Goodbye, cruel world. We're in.
Good night, everyone.